On the Brooklyn Bridge tonight, voices strong, knowledge tight, thorough black talk in the air, changing minds, changing flair. From Brother Tad to Sister Kate, warriors got things to say. Sister Marcia brings the heat, Brother Blacksmith keeps the beat. Revolutionary waves they fly underneath the open sky. Every word's a call to fight. Tune in, feel the ancestral line. Thursday nights, the world will see Black Power Media on the spree. Facebook, YouTube, all aligned, breaking free from everybody. Social talk and politics, every voice breaks through the matrix. Commentary raw and true, for the many, not the few. Revolutionary waves they fly underneath the open sky. Every word's a call to fight. Tune in, feel the ancestral line. Ancestral line.
We recently had a reparations hearing in Binghamton, New York, and we will discuss some of the topics that took place. So tonight's discussion is about why lineage matters in reparations policy. We examine what the Constitution not only allows, but requires. When remedying the harms of U.S. chattel slavery, we will address why state reparations efforts must avoid dilution and misclassification, and why foundational Black American disaggregation is central to any lawful, effective, and just reparations program. This conversation is for those serious about reparations grounded in law. So, I hope you all had a great week. Never forget, as you drive your vehicles, about Dr. Gladys West and her genius, another hidden figure that we all must remember. So tonight up on the Brooklyn Bridge, we dedicate this episode in her honor. When folks say, "What have you done for us?" we have a multitude of inventions, progressive policies that help the world. So, without further ado, Brother Black, are you ready? Welcome to the Brooklyn Bridge by way of the Bronx. Our brother from another mother, another galaxy, Brother Blacksmith, what's happening?
What's up, Sister Keish? How you doing today? What's going on with you?
I'm good, brother. I'm good. I'm ready to rock and roll because tonight we got a lot to discuss.
Brother Tab ain't coming on tonight?
Brother Tad is on assignment tonight. He'll be back with us next week.
Okay.
We've been doing OG Wisdom podcast all week, and it's been an adventure. So those of you who missed the episodes, you can be a part of the playback game and catch it a little later. Let me give some shout outs real quick, Brother Black, and we'll go right into your spill. Okay. Sister Aruba 927, Doggy Diamond TV Mars, what's happening? Sister Sister Joyce and Brother Monty, Suffolk County, what's happening? What's happening? What's happening? Sister Brooke will be joining us shortly. We got a lot to discuss. She just sent me a very interesting clip that I'm going to play once she arrives, for sure, for sure. Sister Farnessa, Alabama, on the check-in. What's happening? What's happening? What's happening? One of our usual sponsors, Sister Tanisha Murdoch. What's happening? What's happening? What's happening? Glad you could rock out with us on the Brooklyn Bridge, sis. It's about to go down. Uncle Jess, Aunt Marie, Brownsville Finance. What's happening? What's happening? What's happening? We're going to get into it tonight. Buckle up. We're going to get into it tonight. So, Brother Black, if you can, give us the 1-2, brother. What's happening?
Not really much, Keisha, Sister Keisha. Not much since last week. Things seem to be kind of like in a stalemate position, if you will, right now, from where I'm looking at least. I'm very intrigued by the talks of Greenland coming back up again, and then finding out that they have hellified deposits of rare earth minerals and things like that. Now, when you say rare earth minerals, there's so many. It would be hard to define what that means, but basically, these minerals are what run machinery, and create the systems and so on and so forth. So, like a lot of people don't understand that diamonds, the majority of diamonds mined are used for alluvial purposes as opposed for jewelry. That's a very small part of it. The diamonds are known to be the hardest substance on earth, so it cuts glass and things like that. And we're talking these big diamonds. We're not talking, some you fit on a chain and then loop it. So basically, the talks of Greenland are very interesting right now, in that its parent country is Denmark, which is a civilized European country. So I believe that's another distraction, as it came up conveniently.
It's not the first time a U.S. president tried to acquire Greenland. So
yeah,
I don't know why people seem so shocked. Either that or you don't know history, but there have been plenty prior to President Trump trying to acquire Greenland. Go ahead, Brother Black.
And being that it's closer to the United States proper than it is to Denmark, I guess that's why it's becoming because at the end of the day, when you couple that with the strategicness of where it is military wise, it is it's like to have anybody else there as a national as considered by Trump, it is a threat to national security, if you will. So we got to understand. I saw a headline maybe yesterday or maybe this morning, I don't remember, but recently, that said that Macron is begging Putin to let them go back into Burkina Faso and into those countries that they used to run, but no longer the case. And that's not going to happen. So the trajectory we're going in, if you believe me, for those of you who've been watching me for years and know I've said these things over the years, we're heading toward a direction where there can be no war, so that Jassara and Asara can happen. Because if you have 5 countries fighting each other, then you're not stable. The people need to be stable. The people need to get whatever is coming to them, including FBA with reparations or whatever disbursements y'all may get in the near future, which you will get, by the way. You know what I'm saying? It has to be stable. So this is the reason why the Democrats or the left or the deep state or whatever you want to call them have these conflagrations in Minneapolis and all the Somali and white people now fighting for immigrants that are illegal, and so on. It's just all distraction, because now instead of saying BLM or Antifa, now we're saying people who are mobbing for the migrants. I mean, most of these people, as we see, are now white. I'm gonna make this point again, and I said this on the show numerous times too. The majority of Black Lives Matter were white people. Most of them from out of town, going into cities that they're not even from, probably never even been to turn up. So
Right.
y'all got to know that this shit is all distraction. You know what I'm saying? Whether I mean, Rahm Emanuel was famous for saying he got it from somebody. I don't remember who that person was, but never let a good crisis go to waste. So meaning A happens, they do B, knowing that you're going to beg for C. And it works both ways, because if you want to call Trump and his people the good guys, whatever, however you believe, or bad guys, whatever, they got a plan with the same thing that happened that the deep state has the opposite plan for. So, and as we now see, Sister Keisha, and I know it's more than obvious to you, you said as much recently, you know what I'm saying? Trump is doing a lot of delineating. The way he talk about the Somalian people, not every single one. Now, I'm sure he means the ones that's doing the F stuff. The ones doing that, they're garbage. I don't want them in my country. Blah blah. Come on, we all heard it already. So I don't have to repeat what he's saying. He's continuing that. So the delineation is happening to you on another level, and that is clearing the way for those disbursements that I just spoke of to start coming your way. So, just keep doing what we doing. You know what I'm saying? I send you $100 when you get your money. You know what I'm saying? I want to see that. That's how happy I am about seeing it coming down the pipe eventually. If you want to play a video, you go right ahead.
Yeah, because you touched on Greenland, and I mentioned, he wasn't the first president to try to acquire Greenland. Let's play this clip and we'll come right back.
In 1803, United States purchased Louisiana. In 1867, United States purchased Alaska. In 1917, United States purchased Virgin Islands. In 1867, United States, under President Johnson, came close to negotiating a purchase of both Greenland and Ireland from Denmark, but the idea fizzled because post-Civil War politics. In 1910, United States, under President Taft, had a diplomatic discussion with Denmark to purchase Greenland, but the offer wasn't firm, never really advanced, and instead it just collapsed. In 1946, United States, under President Truman, had its most significant attempt to purchase Greenland. Denmark rejected the offer, and U.S. instead secured an ongoing military access via agreements. In 1955, United States, under President Eisenhower, tried to purchase Greenland, but essentially no formal offer was made. United States purchasing Greenland is only outrageous and never heard of because now Trump is the one trying to make the deal.
Again, like I said, it's not the first time. And, when you hear things or that seem sensational to you, please do some research so that you can have a clear understanding. Shout out to Big Russ, filling in a building. What's happening, fam? How are you? But, I wanted to continue with Dr. West, who made her transition on the same day that they had the reparations hearing in Binghamton, upstate New York. Marcia, you ready? Africans on the rise. Sister Marcia, what's happening?
Peace, family. How's everyone doing today on this Black-tastic Thursday? There's some stuff on this Black-tastic Thursday. Hope everyone is well. It's cold outside, or it's
Tell
cold
Jay I said
outside?
what's up.
Ah, that's another story for another day. But
It's
let's
about to
leave
get
him be
thick.
where he is.
The storm is coming, it's brewing.
Yeah.
But we're
Yes.
going to discuss a little bit about Dr. West, as I did in the interim of the program. Let's look at her in her interview, and then we're going to play an interview with her grandson, which I thought was very, very interesting. Hold on, family. Here we go.
Gladys West wasn't done learning when she decided to go to Virginia Tech to earn her PhD at 70 years old.
I had so much that I hadn't done. You know, I feel like I have a good brain. I need to use it. I keep studying.
Growing up on a small farm in rural Virginia in the 1930s, Gladys learned it wasn't about being poor.
We never thought that we were poor, stuck in the mud poor. We always thought that we see crops growing, things getting bigger and better.
At the time, options for girls at her school included becoming a teacher or seamstress, but Gladys stood out for her talent in mathematics.
They were trying to encourage me to do something a little different from what the other students are doing, some of the other students are doing, because they felt that I had talent to do it and make it.
Gladys was class valedictorian and earned the first full scholarship to what was then Virginia State College, where she earned a bachelor's in math in 1952 and a master's 2 years later. The U.S. Naval Proving Ground hired Gladys in 1956. She was only one of 4 Black employees and 2 women.
I'm going to a place where they're going to be bringing in humongous computers, and you have a lot of space to process the data.
It's here Gladys won praise for solving complex mathematical equations by hand. She then became part of the team programming computers to do the work and went on to develop a groundbreaking program capable of calculating satellite orbits. It's that work that laid the foundation for the Global Positioning System, or GPS, we rely on today.
It's just amazing. It's just amazing what that capability has brought.
Her pioneering work in aerospace and defense industries went largely unnoticed, but in 2018, the U.S. Air Force inducted this hidden figure into its Space and Missiles Pioneer Hall of Fame. Reflecting on her 93 years, Gladys realizes she had many mentors, starting with her own mother, who pushed her to embrace her talent and dreams.
I think it's really exciting when you go into something that you really love and you're really doing it, and you see it working, and you see it spreads out into the world.
Again, kudos to Dr. West for all of her brilliance and excellence, then the genius that she gave to the world. Everybody uses GPS in some way, some form or fashion, whether you're riding a vehicle, now they have them on bikes, on your cell phone. Many people use GPS. Sister Marcia, your thoughts on Dr. West and her mathematical genius?
I think my mama from other centuries is a great woman. You know, it's unfortunate that we are not privy to some of these geniuses in our lives, in our day lives, especially as young children. Should have known her name. You know, like me, I'm like, I should have known her name since I was in first grade, but I didn't get to know her name until I was in adult working for the man and stuff like that. So it's unfortunate that we have so much of our stories hidden from us, and it takes digging to discover those things. This is why I am a staunch advocate of educating our people. As soon as we know something, we must tell people immediately, because They're not going to tell us these things. And we can't even rely on doing independent research right about now because of all these things that's happening with AI. So it gets tricky. So you always need an elder, a mentor, someone who's dived into the story of us in many different facets to help us filter the truth from the fake, especially moving forward for the younger generations. But I think she's fabulous. Thank the Lord for GPS, because, you know, even when you think about it, like back in the 90s, we had MapQuest, right? And we were downloading the instructions to get places, the directions, and it's still that information in a different format, right? And man, I'm so grateful for those things, because reading maps weren't fun, but this isn't fun either. Sometimes
I love maps. I love maps.
Listen, maps has driven me places. I am all for maps, but the ease of this is the greatest part. However, we get dumb relying on the ease of this. And what I found astonishing, like, you remember you could go to the gas station and pick up a map? You can't do that no more. There's very few gas stations that have maps. And you're like, why you don't have a map? They're like, why you need a map? You have GPS. So, you know, it's that dumbing down of things too. So, yeah. But I appreciate her service to a collective of people that can get around places. Thank you.
For those of us young enough to remember that you can never fold a map back perfectly the way it came, I guess those flashbacks is what only really young people gonna laugh at that one.
I'm laughing, so I'm younger than y'all. So
I'm really young. Me too, right? Because we are youngins here. What are you talking about? Only really young.
But you know what? You know, being, and I want people, because something that Sister Marcia said, but I want y'all to think about how you use things, right? Anything that I use, anything that I'm involved in, I study thoroughly, because, you know, I'm naturally nosy, so I want to know. And me being a researcher and a student of history, I don't study nothing without a map, because geography changes, right? Identity of geography changes. And so I always use a map when researching anything. But to Dr. West's credit, getting this doctorate later on in life, being a part of the Navy and the military, and just having a love for mathematics. When you look at STEM today, it is people like her that were the blueprint for such disciplines. And it's very, very important that you research everything that you're into, because if you wait for somebody else to teach you, you'll never get there. Let's play this interview with her grandson, and then we'll come right back. Hold on.
We are celebrating Black History Month by shining a light on pivotal figures who made an incredible impact on our country. Virginia native Dr. Gladys West is one of those figures, a hidden figure, in fact, whose contributions to science went unrecognized for decades because of her race and her gender. But now reporter Leland Pinder speaks with her family about her remarkable journey.
A retired Navy mathematician, Dr. Gladys West is credited with being part of the team whose work led to the development of the global positioning system, better known to just about everyone, everywhere as GPS.
It's such a great legacy.
At 92, Dr. West is no longer doing interviews. Her grandson, Andre Jones, spoke with me on her behalf, as did her biographer, Marvin Jackson. It Began with a Dream was published last year.
This woman had so much knowledge and was just such a beautiful person.
Gladys May Brown was born in 1930 during the Great Depression in Dinwiddie County. Her father, a tobacco farmer, she and her siblings worked the fields in the mornings, went to school, and worked the fields in the evening. But from a young age, little Gladys was determined this would not be her position for the rest of her life.
Her mother was talked to her about, she said, you're very smart. And you can do all kinds of things. You can do anything, but you have to get an education.
West was always number one in her classes. In high school, she was valedictorian and earned a scholarship to present-day Virginia State University.
One thing that she really taught me was that your education doesn't separate you from others, but it gives you a lot more opportunities.
At VSU, she studied mathematics, earning her degree in 1952. She went back, earning a master's in 1955 after teaching in segregated Virginia public schools. In 1956, a call from the Naval Service Warfare Center, as it's known today, in Dahlgren, Virginia. Jackson says West was skeptical and initially turned down the interview.
They got back to her and said, hey, come on anyway, we're going to hire you, because your qualifications are so good.
She was only the fourth Black person to be hired there. The third, Ira West, the man she would marry the following year. There were certainly challenges along the way.
People had funny ideas about her because it was their first time dealing with integration, just like it was. But she said she had funny ideas about working with them because she had never worked with a white person before.
But West persevered, and it wasn't long before her work began to speak for itself.
She was always on the top teams, continued to get promoted numerous times as well.
West was admired for her ability to solve complex math equations by hand. She eventually began programming computers. She went on to work on multiple high-level projects, including one which led to her work laying the groundwork for GPS. Jackson says West had no idea of the significance her work would ultimately play in something so transformative.
When she found out what it was going to become, she was like, oh my gosh, she couldn't believe it.
In 2018, she was honored by the Virginia legislature and also inducted into the Air Force Space and Missile Pioneers Hall of Fame. In 2021, she was awarded the Prince Philip Medal by the Royal Academy of Engineering. So how does Dr. West feel about all this recognition so late in life?
She said, it's better now than never. So she said, now that they're getting it right, some other women will get acknowledged too.
Work hard, outwork everyone else, no excuses, and a strong work ethic. Just a few traits and a way of thinking Jones has inherited from his grandmother, in addition to an amazing legacy.
For my daughter, it's awesome to think that, she'll be able to write papers about her great grandmother, and I'll never forget where I've come from. And I can look back and see where she came from as well and see the fruits of her labor pay off.
And can you even imagine?
Again, it's nothing like lineage and legacy. That's a powerful story about Dr. West. Again, fighting through all of her roadblocks coming up in the South, Virginia, that is, rural South, from picking and working in the fields to going to school, to the support of her loving husband, Ira West. And you can learn more about her in her book, It Began with a Dream. Check that book out. It Began with a Dream. Also, it's available on Audible, so you can check it out there as well. But I would encourage you to do that. And Sister Pat said, you just inquisitive. Yeah, that's a nice way to say it, but I'm very nosy. And Brother Leonard, shout out to you. Yes. So again, thank you, Dr. West, for all of your greatness and all that you have embodied and put forth on this globe. A lot of people take Black American genius for granted and try to minimize, if you will, what we are and who we are. Try to set up roadblocks for what it is that we do and how we do it. One thing's for certain. We fight where we are, and we have no problems continuing to fight. Even as Dr. Claude Anderson said, we're going to have to fight everybody. And that's where we are right now. We're fighting everybody. And for those who are in opposition, you have no wins. Trust and believe that. But about to bring on Sister Brooke and Brother Divine, but I want to play this clip. And tonight we are going to review the recent reparations hearing in Binghamton, New York. We're going to also play clips from a book by Roy Beck, Back of the Hiring Line, because I want to give a clear picture on how immigration as a whole, doesn't matter where it comes from. They can be brown skin, white skin, pink skin, whatever skin. It has always been problematic for us, and it has been a concerted effort to be a problem for us. Because think about it. Once, during enslavement, I won't even go outside, but during enslavement, we were great inventors. We were great movers and shakers during enslavement. We are the most progressive of any brown-skinned people on the planet. We have given more to anybody on the planet. The numbers cannot compare. And for those who love the words of Marcus Garvey, he too said the exact same thing, that it cannot compare. And he said that in 1917, and today it's still the same. But I'm going to play this clip real quick, and then we'll bring in Sister Brooke and Brother Divine. Something interesting Sister Brooke sent me. Hold on, family. Here we go.
To guess which model is African and which model is African American. Let's just say this one is African and this one is African American. Americans often say that they can always tell the difference, and non-Americans might think that this is due to fashion, but you can see that we match for those in this experiment. It's really a subtle matter of ancestry. Chattel's study of 23andMe customers found that African Americans are about 73.2% African and 24.0% European, the rough equivalent of having a European grandparent. To be more historically and regionally specific, most African Americans can trace their ancestry to the horrific Atlantic slave trade, which mainly involved Western Europeans kidnapping West Africans. And so today, African Americans tend to have more typical West African facial features, such as a broad ala base, as well as Western European influence on their aesthetic, such as lighter coloration. And it's differences like these that made this face appear more African American and this face appear more African despite identical style. Honestly though, there's a huge overlap. If you were to go to Africa, you'd see a lot of people who look African American. And for African Americans whose recent ancestors are from East or North Africa, a lot of Americans will assume they're not American, even though they are. So sure, there are average differences here, but it's simply not the case that you can always tell. If you want us to analyze your face, click the link in bio at Kuz.com.
Let me bring in Sister Brooke. You ready? All right. Sister Brooke, reparations activist up on the Brooklyn Bridge. What's happening, sis? What's happening?
Hello. How are you?
I'm good.
How is everybody?
You sent me that clip.
I did.
Let's talk about it.
First of all, I
was trying to get me riled up
early. It pissed me off because they completely negated our Native American ancestry. They always want to equate whatever we do, whatever we have, whatever it is that they think is good, they want to equate it to white folks, and that pisses me the hell off. You know, first of all, we've already demolished the talking points on this show that the DNA tests are correct. We already know they lying, and they can't give you quantitative amounts of how much of this and how much of that they have. We've already talked about this. So you're sitting there telling us that we got 75% of you and a white grandparent. Both my grandparents are black. All four, very black. Okay, And then you want to go to the next step. You could go beyond that, go 2-3 generations, Black Indians. So for you to sit here and lie and say that, oh, it's the same thing as having a white grandparent, like I said, you don't know what you're talking about. And stop fixing your mouth on us. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of it. So yeah, I saw that right before we got on, and I was like, I got to send her this, because I was looking at I was like, where they going with this? I'll land there, because I got a lot more to say, but I came in hot, so I didn't even say hello. Hi, Sister Marcia. Hi, Brother Black. Hi, Sister Keisha. But yeah, that pissed me off, child. I came in hot. As usual.
I can hear you, but they got me frozen. So I acknowledge your piece and say peace black at you, sis.
Let me pull you out and see if I can pull you back in. Hold on. Now I know you read Back of the Hiring Line.
Sure did.
By Roy Beck.
That was an amazing book. Changed my life.
Yes. So I don't know if you remember, a couple of months ago, I said that we were having a discussion here on the platform, and I said that immigration has always been a problem for us. Mm-hmm. And actually, it was Sister Marcia and I in dialogue, because she was talking about gentrification. And I said, before there's gentrification, the problem has always been immigration. And it doesn't matter where you came from. Immigration is a tool against us, used against us. I'm going to play some clips. And then if you can, just give me your perspective, on these clips that you're hearing. Okay?
Sure. Mm-hmm.
Okay, hold on. Here we go, family.
Destruction in the Black population belt through New Orleans and along the Gulf Coast threw more than 250,000 Americans out of work. A potential compensation, however, was that the cleanup and rebuilding would provide jobs for a significant number of them. The early work, especially, would be backbreaking and dirty. And because of that, the jobs would surely pay well. African American men, many of whom had not had jobs even before the storm, enthusiastically attempted to get into the hiring lines all along the coast. But they never stood much of a chance in competition with the labor contractors who swooped in with their unending caravans of buses filled with immigrants and other foreign-born workers. A particularly painful example involved a local employment service in Mobile, Alabama. Contractors that had been hired by the government to clear and rebuild that area of the coast sent out an urgent request for workers. The labor company had no trouble lining up U.S. citizens, mostly African Americans, to take the first 270 jobs that were said to be opening up. But after the first workers had spent only 2 weeks on the job, the contractors laid them off and sent them home, telling them that the Mexicans had arrived and would accept lower wages. Linda Swope, the operator of the local labor agency, described the reaction when she had to tell the workers who were waiting to start their jobs.
When we told the guys they would not be needed, they actually cried. And we cried with them. This is a shame. I assure you it is not true that Americans don't want to work.
She said most of the men had lost their regular jobs because of the hurricane.
The men we sent to jobs in Alabama were local fellows looking for work, men who needed jobs. After driving 50 miles to the work sites where they had been promised $10 an hour, they discovered the employers had found substitutes who were willing to work for less.
African Americans in New Orleans who stayed through the hurricane and those who returned to find jobs in the aftermath were left to sit on their porches and watch their city be rebuilt by the armies of workers that federal policies had provided through continuous annual immigration surges and weak immigration enforcement. Adding insults to injury, the U.S. Department of Homeland Security gave the green light to all contractors hiring illegal workers instead of African Americans and other U.S. citizens. The presence of a lot of foreign-born workers in an occupation or at a particular job location is often assumed to mean that they are there because American workers weren't interested in doing that kind of work. But, as in the case of the post-Katrina jobs calamity, it often means that Americans, particularly African Americans, have been intentionally excluded, or at least never assertively recruited.
So, this is from the book, Back of the Hiring Line by Roy Beck. It's a very, very powerful book. And I would encourage everyone to read it. Or if not, it's on Audible. We'll try to make things easy. It is on Audible. Sister
Love
Brooke,
Audible.
let me get Brother Divine. Brother Divine, you ready? The U.S. Freedmen Project lobbies.
Come on in, Mr. President.
Divine Prince. What's happening, brother? How are you? Welcome to the Brooklyn Bridge.
Good evening, ladies on the Brooklyn Bridge. I would say gentlemen, but I'm the only one here tonight so far. I seen Brother Black had to take a step out. I'm not sure where Brother Tad is this evening, but I know he's somewhere working. So yes. Shout out to all you beautiful sisters. Let's get to work.
So, Sister Brooke, and then we'll go to Brother Divine on his thoughts on that clip out of Back of the Hiring Line. Go ahead, sis.
So, again, we see how we are being usurped by foreign workers, no matter where you're from, whether you're melanated or non-melanated, by foreign workers who come here and take jobs away from people who need them. That is their home. They didn't want to leave, but because they brought in all of these other people to come in and do the work, shoddy work. Can I add that too? I follow a lot of home inspectors, right? Sister Keisha laughs at me. I have very weird interests, right? I've told her about some of them. One of the things that I follow are home inspectors. The quality of the homes are not even the same because they are hiring people that don't know the rules, that don't know the laws, don't know the codes, and are not certified. So you got people putting drywall on the outside of the house. You got people who don't understand little nuances like that are supposed to happen here, and turning basically America into a third world country because the house is just, huff and puff and it blows down. And in Louisiana, that is definitely not something that you need because they are a place that has natural disasters. So they need to have strong structures. So you're bringing all these people in who don't know the rules, don't know the laws, not certified to come in and rebuild the homes of people who've been there for centuries. A lot of people in Louisiana are natives to that land, including my family, who have been in Louisiana since Louisiana wasn't Louisiana. So how dare you bring in this other group of people to fix our home? It's insulting. And then not only that, we have to, I'm going to talk about the Black leadership as well, whoever they may be. I don't care where, like I said, I don't really give a damn whether you're foreign or domestic. You're going to get this work. They sit there and say things like, oh, well, we don't want Black people to do those jobs. Who are you to talk for all of us? Some of us don't want to go into, you know what I'm saying, higher education, dealing with the racism there. Some of us don't want to do that. Some of us like making things with our hands. Some of us like taking something that's in our mind and making it real with our hands. How dare you tell us what jobs we can and cannot have? And that goes right back. And see, this is present day. This wasn't something we talking about 20 years ago, you know what I'm saying, 50 years ago, 60 years ago, or 100 years ago. This is just around the corner. But these people sat here and took those jobs away from those people where they could have had the money. Now, where is the soul in Louisiana? Now people talking about where is the soul? You have bred the soul out of Louisiana. Done everything you can to push it underground in Louisiana. And then you want to know why it's not the same. And I'll land there. I'll let the other people go now.
Brother Divine, your thoughts on that clip from the book, Back of the Hiring Line?
I want to take a more, I guess, a holistic approach and kind of perspective on this. I know not to put her business in the street, but to where Sister Brooke, we had a conversation about her ties, because with the migration patterns, when we look at New York specifically with our people have long and deep ties to South Carolina. When we talk about New York, right? Specifically, when you talk about Chicago, that's Mississippi, things of that nature, right? Not 100% for the most part. And I'm bringing that up because there is a area in South Carolina that I was able to read up on in the book, The Bloody Shirt.
That's another good book.
Another great book. And my sister Brooke.
It's notable too.
yes it is. Yes, it is. And, her family has ties to a specific area down there in South Carolina that was formerly known as Hamburg, South Carolina. And I'm saying that to say this. Hamburg, South Carolina was named by and or after a German immigrant that was able at the time to come to the United States of America that our ancestors built, and not only own land, but have the ability to name a town after his homeland. While at the same time, our ancestors that built the country were not allowed to move freely anywhere, not just this town. And I'm bringing it up to say this. And this is a failure, and this is kind of I would say the foundation, if you will, for what we're seeing right now with immigration. Because every single time this country had the opportunity to be quote unquote America first, because they did not want to see foundational Black Americans be a part of that America first, they moved to align with foreign entities and immigrants that they brought in, not understanding that they had foreign allegiances that they would never drop, regardless of whatever allegiance they took, rather than move forward with this country as a whole. And we're seeing that now, where there's a bunch of immigrant groups that are anti-America, to the point where they will chastise foundational Black Americans for being anti-America, as if there aren't two Americas. But white supremacy has emboldened them and empowered them to have that sense of entitlement, but then try to come in on the back end talking to us saying, hey, it looks like we need to work together because look at how they are treating our country. But you never let it truly be our country because you sided with quote unquote race over us all moving forward as Americans. And this is kind of what we see in this clip, where instead of empowering us as foundational Black Americans, they move to empower people under this blanket whiteness. And I've said this before, there are many good things, without getting too explicit, that happen under the blankets. But one of the more nefarious things that happens under the blankets is that people get effed, for lack of a better term. And these Anglos are getting effed by their white foreign bedfellows and expecting us to come clean up the mess. And those days, my dear, of being underpaid domestic workers are over.
Shout out to our sister DW. DW, we gotta get you up on the bridge soon. You can keep your camera off if you want. We gotta get you up on the bridge, DW. Let me know when you're ready. Thanks for the super chat, sis. And to think about this, I want everybody to think about this. This took place in Louisiana right after Hurricane Katrina. After they let our folks for dead. They left them for dead. And then they promised them, we'll give you a way to get up on your feet. And he brought in these immigrants. As you heard in the clip, those brothers cried because they wanted to make a way for their family. But when I hear immigrants talking about, y'all gonna be next, mother effer, we first, and you ain't help us. Where was your advocacy for us? Where is it now? Where is it now? You still whining and complaining, but where is it now? Where is it now? Nowhere to be found. Nowhere to be found. Told you, immigration has always been a problem for us. Always. And it don't matter to you. When we talked, I think a month ago, we talked about the Gilded Age and the history of New York. And what happened to our people back then? Let me tell you something. I know I don't have time to say it tonight, but next week we're going to discuss an impromptu Zoom that I attended. Shout out to Sister BX, who also attended, with about 200 people, with 3 politicians. One of them, they were advocating for the Haitian community and the ending of TPS. One of these politicians were trying to persuade people to break the law. In the name of Harriet Tubman. How disrespectful. But I recorded it. And I sent it to the ethics committee. I'm not playing with you. I'm not playing with you. I recorded it, sent it to the ethics committee. Next week, we're going to play it. Next week, we're going to play it. You had one organization who said that they were advocating and helping Haitian girls who may have been SA'd, trafficked, and whatever, here in New York. So that I put in the chat. You have Black American girls who are going through the exact same thing in New York, in Brooklyn, where these 3 politicians preside over. And I asked them, will you help them as well? And I didn't get a response. And so I'm snitching on all y'all. I recorded it, and you're all in trouble. Hakeem Jeffries, Yvette Clark, Roxanne Passard, you're all in trouble. It's up. It's up. But let me get off my tangent. We'll deal with that next week. It's going to be fire. Let me play this clip from back of the hiring line, and we'll come back with your responses. Hold on.
Instead of reducing immigration to 2% of the 1890 quota, we favor reducing it to nothing. We favor shutting out the Germans from Germany, the Italians from Italy, the Hindus from India, the Chinese from China, and even the Negroes from the West Indies. This country is suffering from immigrant indigestion. It is time to call a halt on this grand rush for American gold, which overfloods the labor market, resulting in lowering the standard of living, race riots, and general social degradation. The excessive immigration is against the interest of the masses of all races and nationalities in the country, both foreign and native.
Now, how come you don't hear about this 8 Philip Randolph, huh? How come you don't hear about this part of 8 Philip Randolph? You see? And I'll tell you why, because it doesn't fit a particular narrative. That's why you don't hear about this particular 8 Philip Randolph. Brother Devon, your thoughts on that clip?
Oh man, I'm so excited because I this week, I had a lot to think about and what's been going on, and so I kind of pre-wrote some of my final thoughts because I wanted to make sure I didn't forget them, because I know we go every which way on this bridge, right? And so this is right in line in what I'm looking to end my time on the bridge tonight with. And so I consistently and constantly, especially in the eyes of what's happening right now with all the cosplaying Panthers and all the other stuff that's going on in the news currently. And this is one of the things that I was bringing attention to, because there's been a lot of talk about Black traditions or the Black radical tradition that people are looking to keep in line with or uphold or carry on. And just like you said, this is one of the stronger Black radical traditions when we talk about advocacy that often gets looked over. And again, y'all know where I always go, but that's because all roads lead there. This is one of the things, in my opinion, that the religion of Pan-Africanism has helped to muddy the waters on and to cover up. And so as we've had many greats, from Frederick Douglass to A. Philip Randolph to Barbara Jordan to Coretta and Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and more recently, Dr. Claude Anderson, all of them and others, right? Those are the more prominent and ones that I have studied and looked into. All of them have highlighted this problem and the way in which white supremacy weaponizes the entire system of immigration, regardless of hue, against our people. And what that religion of Pan-Africanism has done, which I believe is one of the more nefarious things that it has done, and I actually did a talk on this at one of the colleges that I got a chance to, and I asked this question to the Black students there, and I'm saying Black obviously because they have not delineated in the ways that we are, but they are getting there. And I said, who believes that Asian Americans are in the position that they're in because they work harder than American freedmen or the Foundation of Black Americans? Damn near no hands went up. What about the Italian Americans, Irish Americans, so forth and so on, to the same example with no hands going up? But when I get to the Afro immigrants, very interesting responses. When I start to say, well, what about the Caribbean Americans? The response is a little bit more hesitant. There are more people that want to raise their hands at that question. What about the African immigrants? More hands that want to go up. And I'm saying that to say this because this is the point of the exercise. Because what we're finding out now only confirms all that I said then before this administration exposed this. What we know now that most of us knew then or were suspicious of, like Dr. King told us decades ago, not just those poor immigrant peasants from Europe, but this system undergirds and funds all immigrant groups above us, Afro immigrants included. And what Pan-Africanism convinced us of is that how can racism be a thing that holds you back if Afro immigrants come here and do well? That was Pan-Africanism. But what was exposed by this administration, we found out just how those Somalians got their levels of success. We found out through the US aid that they stopped how many of these immigrant businesses, Afro immigrants included, were getting funding and resources from programs and initiatives that we don't even have access to, that we didn't even know existed previously. And so what continues to get exposed as we continue to move away en masse from Pan-Africanism is that none of these groups are where they are at because they work harder than foundational Black Americans. That's blasphemy. They are undergirded, propped up, and placed above us by the same system that we have been fighting this entire time, and the same system they want us to fight against when the deal they made with that system goes bad.
Man, speaking of Dr. King, y'all know I'm quick with it over here. I'm quick with it.
The racial group has been a slave on American soil. It's nice to say other people were down and they got up. They were not slaves on American soil. The other thing is that the Negro has had high visibility. And because of the prejudices existing in this country, his color has been against him. It's been against him, and they've used this to keep him from moving up. In the final analysis, when you say to a man that you are in this position because of your race or because of your color, you say to that man that he can never get out of it. Other racial groups have been able maybe to change the accent or change the names, but the Negro can't.
Visit shop.mrwelch.
Yo, how come when Dr. King birthday come around, they don't play that joint? Why they don't play that one? That's what I want to know. Sister Brooke, your thoughts.
He said it. Change accents and change names. You are allowed to hop in and out of blackness however you see fit. We do not have that choice. Or in and out of ooishness.
Come on.
We do not have that choice. In and out of Hispanicness. We do not have that choice. Look at Fat Joe. Every day he looking more and more like the white tea man that he is.
Woo!
That white blood is so thick within him. He don't even look Hispanic no more. To put him in a suit, put him in a skinhead outfit, since he bald. And who would he look more like? Cesar Chavez or them skinheads with the black boots and the red laces? Because he sound like one too. So you got these people who have the opportunity. I'm sure you played that video of the woman who was at, I think it looked like here in New York. She was at Metro PCS. And when the police was arresting her, she said in her deep patois accent, I am not a Black American. Do not kill me like you kill Black Americans. So I've had multiple conversations with people, with one specific person, and I'll just leave it at that. I've had multiple conversations with one specific person when they're telling me, oh, well, Black Americans could do the same thing. And I was like, no, the hell we can't. When we're talking about, well, you know, we pay taxes under EIN numbers, that alone is fraud. An EIN number is a type of, let's just say, social security number for a business.
Right.
It is not in lieu of, in replacement of, or supposed to be a social security number. But they are allowed,
that's right,
to fraudulently get an EIN number and use it as a social security number. That all in itself is fraud.
Absolute
So
fact.
when I pointed this out, you know, they're like, oh, I don't see, well, why can't y'all just do it? First of all, I don't have to do it because I got a social. That's number one. I was born with one. My mama was born with one. Her mama we were born with social security numbers. I don't have to go down and go get one and fraudulently get one. That's number one. Number two, like I said, the law was not prosecuting said fraud. If there was for us to do things like that, we would be prosecuted. And so now we see that the Trump administration is starting to prosecute the law. That's all. Laws that have been in place for quite some time. It's just that everybody's been turning a blind eye and not looking. And so, you know, that is what we see happening. And so when that person said that to me and I told them all the things about fraud and they're questioning me whether it's fraud, I looked at them and said, can you do it in your country? Can I come to your country and get an EIN number and skirt and undergird your laws? No, you can't. You know why? Because it's fraud. And going back to the hiring line, you know, that's one of my favorite books right now. I want to point out that all Americans, ALL, including Black Americans, white Americans, immigrant Americans that were citizens at that time, was against mass immigration. Oh! Let me say that again. ALL, not some, not a few, not a handful, not a quarter, not 50%, not all were against it. It's the politicians who were being paid off by lobbyists that went against the will of the people. So when these fraudulent matter of fact, I like it, the Tether Panthers, because he got on the Thundercat shirt. They took the Thundercat sign and they called it Tether Panthers. When these Tether Panthers are sitting here lying about all the people in the United States was against mass immigration because they knew the immigrants that were citizens at the time knew that if you bring in these new immigrants, that it's going to undercut the wages. They were already living in slums. Didn't want to. They want a chance to be able to move up. They don't want more people packed in on top of them. So this is a situation. This wasn't just Black America was against it. No, all. This was all done, like I said, by lobbyists.
And we heard that last week, not to cut your wisdom, but we heard that last week when I played the clip of the Italian American talking about the new Italians that's coming in.
Boom. And they also did not want these waves of immigration. So everybody was against it. So this was not something that, and so us all standing together as Americans against immigration is nothing new. It's not MAGA. It's not self-hatred. It's not confusion. In fact, it is the complete opposite of confusion. It is the awareness of what that brings to a country. And you know why they don't allow it in the country that you come from? Because it would undergird your country. And that is why they don't allow it. So don't think that you could come here and make America terrible. We're not going to allow it. We are going to fight back as we always have. And I'll land there.
Go ahead, Brother Devon.
Yeah, I just wanted to add one thing to what Sister Brooke just said when she brought up that video in what looked like that Metro PCS or another mobile phone or mobile device store. Yeah. Not only did she say exactly what Sister Brooke said, she said specifically, not that I'm not Black American and don't kill me like a Black American. She said, go kill a Black American.
That's true.
In that video. And so this is what we're talking about when we say the xenophobia and the anti-foundational Black Americanness that they bring with them from wherever they are from.
She quick with it.
Man.
I recognize that stance of the security guard. I remember this is it. That's
I'm the receipt queen.
Love it.
I'm going to come with it. Let's play this and we'll get right back. Hold on.
American, I'm Jamaican. Don't kill me here. Go kill a Black American. Don't kill me here.
No one's gonna get hurt. You're good.
Okay.
Y'all heard that? Y'all heard that? You heard that? So where are these Caribbean organizations speaking up against that? Where you at?
Or Pan-Africans.
Where y'all at? Where y'all at? You know what I mean? Nowhere to be found. Nowhere to be found. You know, like, you know, it's crazy. Let's get right back in the hiring line. This is our last clip from that book. And we're going to go through this, you know, in the next couple of episodes as well. Because we got to break all this down. You know? But let's play this clip and we're going to get on reparations. Here we go.
Union trouble.
Organizing themselves into trade unions was one way the immigrants were able to tighten the labor market for those fortunate enough to be allowed into the unions. Immigrant laborers were able to set the terms of hiring at many urban workplaces. Not only did they bar black workers from their unions, but they usually refused to work alongside them if employers hired African Americans. Because of that refusal on the part of the more numerous immigrant workers, many firms decided not to hire black workers at all, or to fire the ones already on the site. By the 1850s, for example, free black workers had been driven out of most jobs on the New York City waterfront by the Irish immigrants who had gained control over the trades. Denied work through organized labor channels, black workers increasingly resorted to securing employment by serving as strikebreakers, an unsavory role they had to endure for another century, and one that engendered further hatred from the immigrant workers. Blacks also were restricted in their social life. A gang culture was much in control, with each immigrant group fighting for its own culture and to determine who could live near them, sell in their neighborhoods, and socialize in their pubs.
You know, that's why when these reparations hearings take place, I get so upset with these historical presentations. Because so far, and if I wasn't there, I seen all of them, participated in Zoom, one way or the other. All of these historian presenters have all tried to grandfather everyone onto our claim. Every one of them ignored these points. One presenter, Dr. Bailey, from University Brookman already, she mentioned Dr. King, and said Dr. King was about love, and you know, everybody has this fantasy crap instead of reading. But you didn't talk about that, Dr. King, right? You don't talk about this A. Philip Randolph. Why? Again, it doesn't fit a particular narrative. And it pisses me off to no end. And so, this Saturday in Binghamton, New York, they had a reparations hearing. Now, we're going to hear the first presenter. And I'm going to stop it as she presents. Because I want you to, if you can, Sister Marcia and Brother Black in particular, if you can pick out what is disturbing in her presentation. Because this is a teaching moment for everybody. Let me play it and then we'll get right into it. Hold on.
That information will be posted on our website in the coming weeks. We are really serious about the task before us, so we really can't stress more how important your voices are to us making the appropriate recommendations to the state legislators and our governor. So we invite your input, and we can't stress that more. We don't currently have any vacancies. We are in the process of bringing on those University Press in October 2017. Dr. Bailey is also committed to sharing her work with the public.
Pause. This Dr. Ann C. Bailey is the director of the Harriet Tubman Center for Freedom and Equality. Remember that, okay? Let's continue.
Various events of note on March 18th, 2015, she was invited to speak at the United Nations on the occasion of the commemoration of the 150th anniversary of the Emancipation Proclamation. She shared her research, writing, and other professional experiences with NGOs that are affiliated with the United Nations. In so doing, she was able to honor the lives and contributions of enslaved Black Americans and others in the African diaspora. Dr. Bailey, we welcome you and thank you for sharing your testimony today. Thank you. Thank you.
Pause. Sister Brooke said she already pistol. I was texting her too while they was there. I was like, this mother. Anyway. Her presentation is Reparations and the Expanded Vision for America. Hold on.
It's an honor on behalf of the Tubman Center, the Harriet Tubman Center for Freedom and Equity of Binghamton University, and my associate director, Dr. Sharon Bryant, as well as my team at the Tubman Center. We have Jerome Nenger here who is representing that team to be here today. I am a Jamaican-born US citizen, and I stand here.
Pause. What'd she say? What'd she say?
Pause. Jamaican, born U.S. citizen. That's what she has said.
Hold on.
Before I say anything else, that as an immigrant, I owe a great debt to the people of America, but in particular, African Americans who have been fighting for freedom ever since their consistent presence here in the United States, and I'm standing on their shoulders, and I am grateful. The title of my talk is The Expanded Vision for America, and I'm going to briefly tell you a little bit more about what I've been doing and what the team has been doing at the Tubman Center and at Binghamton University. I'm then going to talk a little bit about my own writing, some of which has been referenced here. Thank you very much, Dr. Jenkins. And then I'm going to spend a good deal of time talking about why reparations are warranted and some recommendations. And then finally, I'm going to close with some discussion of the very title, The Expanded Vision for America, Reparations.
Pause. What her recommendations is and her expanded vision for America. Speaking on again on behalf of foundational Black Americans. Now, as a historian that she claims to be, you should already know that the verbiage that you're using is wrong. You should already know that you're in violation of your presentation. But hang on.
And an expanded vision for America. And first, let me say that this talk is inspired by the scripture, without vision, the people perish. And we will not perish. So I very much believe that all things should start with a real strong sense of vision. I want to commend Vice Chair Dr. Jenkins and the chair in his absence for the good work that is being done by this commission. I want to say that I'm very impressed by the public hearings and the fact that we have public hearings drawing on the model, I think, of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission of South Africa, but taking it even further Dr. Dan.
Pause. Now, what's wrong with her so far? What do you see as being wrong so far? Anybody can take it. What do you see as being?
Can I kind of?
Go ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
I was trying to, be polite. We all know that the Truth and Reconciliation, whatever, didn't do a hill of beans for the Black people in South Africa. So to me, by the fact that you even bringing that up, that's what you want for us here. And you could go you could go to hell.
Let's continue. Hold on.
I just want to say real quick.
Truth and transformation.
Go ahead, Black.
I just wanted to say real quick that she's Jamaican. I'm glad that you guys are solidifying what it is today, because it doesn't leave room for anybody like that to come in and speak on your behalf. That's all.
Thank you for your perspective, Black. Hold on.
And I want to commend this comment that I read about in your proceedings, that Dr. Daniels explains that it's not truth and reconciliation. Reconciliation isn't possible without transformation. In other words, if we want to see transformation, if we want to see reconciliation, which is what we want, racial reconciliation.
I don't want harmony with those I'm trying to get repair from. That's what reconciliation means. If I'm wrong, somebody tell me I'm wrong. But I believe I understand what the goddamn word means. Brother Divine, your thoughts?
That's why I've been screaming this from the rooftops to anybody that can hear me, and making sure I say it at damn near every hearing that I go to, if not at all of them, that racial justice is not the same thing as reparations. And the reason why she goes to that and says racial reconciliation is because that is the gateway. That's the tether point, if you will, to where they get to then add themselves, if not to get reparations, at least to do what she's doing now and being a voice that is worthy and validated to even be listened to. Because if you do not frame it in that way, like I've said in the past, from Time to Kill, right? Close your eyes and imagine she's white. She's way out of place. She's all the way out of all the pockets, right? But when you frame it in race, all of a sudden, you get that same response that I was getting in that classroom when I asked, do you believe that this group is where they are in the hierarchy in the United States of America because they work harder than foundational Black Americans? When you look past the system undergirding all immigrants and you get confused and distracted by melanin, all of a sudden it looks like, wait, hold on. How can this be if they look like you and they're also quote unquote Black? But once you step outside of that Blackness, step outside of that quote unquote racial reconciliation, now we're talking about the harmed group. And you frame it in that way, all of a sudden, there's no need for her to even be here, because what we're discussing does not include her or her expertise, because she's not a part of the harmed group.
And there you have it, family. And there you have it. Let's continue.
Especially, we have to have transformation, and I really appreciate that distinction. We at the Tubman Center have also been inspired by the Truth and Reconciliation Commission of South Africa. And I want to say that I had the pleasure of visiting South Africa this summer. I highly recommend it, especially because there's a lot of misinformation about what is going on there. And I think it's good to be able to see for ourselves where this society is going in terms of reconciliation, the progress they've made, and even some of the challenges which still remain. So let me share with you how our work began at the Harriet Tubman Center. It began literally in the midst of the reaction to the George Floyd murder in 2020. And all across the country, as you know, including our campus, we weren't alone, but all across the country, communities were in an uproar about this murder that had taken place. And it really spoke to the inequities of our society, not only in the justice system, but as it turns out, even in the way we memorialize people of the past. And what happened as a result of his murder, there were many things, as you know, but one of the things that happened is that a number of protesters actually started pulling down Confederate statues. This is what happened here in New Orleans, but this happened elsewhere as well. And almost 100 of them were pulled down. Some of them were pulled down on their own. Some of them, there was actually a democratic process, which is what I highly recommend, in order to, the city council or what have you decided that they needed to come down and be removed to a museum and so forth. In the midst of.
Remember I said to y'all a long time ago, this is problematic in our claim, the removal or tearing down of statues. You ask any detective worth his salt, any uniformed police officer will tell you when you embark upon a crime scene, they rope it off so you don't touch nothing.
Mm-hmm.
You are helping these people clean up the goddamn crime scene. Mm-hmm. Because I'll tell you this, and you look it up, these statues are incidents and badges of slavery.
This process, we looked at this and said, when you pull these statues down, if they don't represent, if the Confederate statues do not represent the American experience now in the 21st century, what does? You see, it's not enough just to pull something down. What do you actually believe in? What are our values? And in our estimation, when we looked around our own community in terms of Binghamton, the Southern Tier in upstate New York, we thought that Harriet Tubman and the multicultural group of abolitionists that form our Freedom Trail, that they more represented, if you will, what American values we wanted to aspire to and that we hope that the country would aspire to. And so our trail, let me give you a quick look of Harriet. If you have not seen her, please go and see her. She gets lonely if you don't go visit her. Our trail starts on our campus, 67 Washington Street, where Harriet Tubman was unveiled March 21st of last year. But then there are 13 stops all around downtown Binghamton, which represent, again, Black and white, and even Native American, there's reference to Native Americans as well, female heroes who were involved in the Underground Railroad and the Civil Rights Movement. And we just wanted to make clear that people who fought for freedom and justice and equity, these are the people that we want to look up to. These are the people that we think.
There's so many things wrong here. There's so many freaking things wrong here. Sister Brooke, your thoughts?
Right there, that last little thing she said. Why are you separating gender? Black American heroes, period. We don't need to separate gender, because you know what? When it came to when we were enslaved, they didn't separate gender. So you only focusing on women. Why? Why you don't want to focus on men? Stop bringing your trauma from what you went through on other lands over here. We stick together over here. We were both enslaved together over here. The women were not treated any different from the men. You had to get out there. You know, I don't think people understand. When you went to the cotton fields, you had to pull back with you your own cotton bale It had to be, and it had to weigh, because cotton is light. So I want you to understand how heavy this had to be. 300, 400 pounds of cotton a day. And you had to pull it from the fields to the gin, or whatever was before the gin, the barn before that. Yourself. Male or female. And you know who used to help us bring our heavy ones? Our men. They would carry their cotton bale plus some of ours. If we couldn't make our quotas, they'd stick some of theirs in our bales, so that we wouldn't succumb to the same, or sometimes they would take their cotton and then make it look like they picked nothing to give it to you, so that you were not subjected to the same punishment as a man, because they felt that they could take it. So that you wouldn't be punished, you wouldn't be beaten, you wouldn't be chastised, you wouldn't be terrorized. Because let's use the right words here, because I hear a lot of people talking about the jokes that we had on them as terrorizing. No. Well, what we went through with these white folks here was terroristic. So that we wouldn't encounter that terrorism on our bodies as women. The men would take those lashes for us. We did this together. And I refuse to let anybody, I refuse to let any Johnny come lately separate us now. That's one thing. One, in the beginning, she said, I'm gonna break you. In the beginning, she said she spoke at the United Nations on behalf of who? Because what you don't know, what she didn't say, but she said to me and President Devine, is that she is involved with an organization in Jamaica that fights for Jamaican reparations through protocol. So why in the flippity? I'm trying not to
take a breath. Take a breath, sis. Take a breath. Take a breath, sis.
Why in the hell are you at the United Nations speaking on our behalf? You got your own organization to speak about. And what the hell is she saying? Because she don't know shit. Then she said she was there to honor us. How are you honoring us by making our reparations claim unconstitutional? How you doing that, Ma? How are you honoring us by making sure we get nothing? Why don't you fight for yours and don't include us? You're not over there in Jamaica talking about how, the foundational Black Americans deserve a piece of this pie, a piece of your macaroni pie. No, but you over here talking about, because we didn't get to that part yet, talking about how we should share with you, which even if we wanted to, we can't, because it deems it unconstitutional. So like I said, you ready to scorch earth our whole claim. Just if you could possibly get a piece, you could kiss my entire, and we'll talk about that later, because I got a chance to speak to her in person.
Yeah, don't tell her. Don't tell her yet. Don't tell her yet.
I'll wait.
Hold the line, sis. Hold the line. Hold on.
I'm trying.
Represent our society better. I want to thank, at this time, I always like to thank the governor of New York, Governor Hochul, who largely sponsored this project, Mayor Jared Graham, who's been an ongoing supporter of this project, State Senator Leah Webb, who's here today. We want to thank her and her staff. Really, we want to give you your flowers right now. Assemblywoman Donna Lupardo and others who have been a big part of making this happen. It didn't happen. We didn't do it on our own. We had a lot of help and a lot of support. Memorialization of this history, it is to say, is a big part of reparations for us. It's a big part of it. We don't think that it's just about programs and activities. It's also about remembering the past and remembering it correctly. We will agree, though, that that the Truth and Reconciliation process of South Africa that inspired this for us, because that's really what happened. We got interested in doing this work because we thought, let's replicate a Truth and Reconciliation process here. Let's look at where we've been, what's happened before.
What's wrong, Brother Divine? What is wrong with what she said?
Oh man, it's what's interesting, just to kind of let the family know, at around this time, you know, because we ran into a blizzard going up there. We're not in the room at this time.
Nope.
So and I was driving, so I didn't. This is some of this is like for the first time, right? Because I'm paying attention, trying to make sure we don't go off the road. So I'm getting a lot of this for the first time. I'm some of it's come back to remember because I'm hearing it as I'm driving, but obviously I'm not looking at this on the live stream. But one of the things I want to point out before I get to this point where we're actually at is she said she wanted to thank Governor Hochul, because what she said Governor Hochul did was Governor Hochul funded their work. This entire their version of a Truth and Reconciliation, to put these monuments up to honor the multiracial, gender-based project. Oh, Governor Hochul gave money for that.
Mm-hmm.
And I want the family to understand, and also thank y'all. You know, we'll talk about that again near the end, but like the U.S. Freedom Project is funded by the people. Like, we're funded by the grassroots, because that same governor and the same entity that gave these people whatever money they gave them to speak on our behalf and put this multiracial thing together that's built on white folks and Native American folks and only women, whatever. Like, we don't get a lick of that. Like, we don't get a piece of, we don't get a fraction of whatever she got. Because 0% of whatever she got is still zero. And so, with that being said, in the segue, I've said this about Marcus Garvey in the past. And I'll say it again because it's not just, he's just a symptom of the problem. And unfortunately, it's a problem that they can't help because it's just how life works. And what I said about Marcus Garvey is that through all the quote unquote good work he tried to do that people promote and propagate to this day, he was always going to be limited by the Jamaican translation of what he thought being Black was.
Mm-hmm.
That's his lived experience. Regardless of whatever his ideology was, he was always going to be a Jamaican because that's just what he was. And so here is the issue with what she just said. She said she was inspired not by all the reparation advocates and freedom fighters that came before her in this goddamn country. She was inspired by what was going on thousands of miles away in South Africa, to which we now know was a whole bunch of pomp and circumstance, empty symbolism to prop Mandela up and to make him seem like he had more influence and power than he had.
Mm-hmm.
To where we still look at 2026 and the Zulus and the other African tribes own damn near no land when compared to the Afrikaners, the Indian South Africans, or the colored South Africans. They are at the bottom after all that Truth and Reconciliation. And you said you went there? So what are we really talking about? What were you inspired by? Repair without reparation and restitution? Without the 5 damn pillars? What were you inspired by? And I'll end by saying what I said about Garvey. She was inspired by her Jamaican translation of what she believes repair is supposed to look like. Not for her people, but for a people that she's not even a part of.
And
can I add something?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
I think, or was she inspired by the fact that the Black people are still at the bottom, and that the buffer classes have moved above them? Is that what's her inspiration? Because let me tell you something, we're not allowing that here. And I'll wait till my speech, because all right, because I'm about to get into because she's making me mad all over again. And I want to add right to President Devine. Thank God he drove. I got off work at 8 a.m. I worked all night long. I was tired, so I could not drive. Thank God he got us there safely. I was half asleep, and he could attest to this, taking notes on what I was going to put into my speech while we were driving up there. We got caught behind the snow plow. I just want the family to know how dedicated, we are and to getting there. And so we're listening live. So I didn't even know what she looked like, because like I said, I'm half asleep taking notes, like, because she was pissing me off even while I was trying to, I couldn't even sleep on my way up there because I had to listen to what she was saying so that I could respond to her. So just to give you a little background before we get to there, but I'll let you continue.
And don't forget, I was texting you in the meantime too.
Yes, you were.
I was heated from the goddamn introduction.
As fish grease.
Man, I was bubbling. Mm-hmm. Let's continue, family. Hold on.
Or what the harms were and so forth. And let's see what we can repair in the present. Let's take recommendations just as you're doing here. And that's how the statue and the Freedom Trail Project came about. But one of the problems with what happened in South Africa was that there wasn't enough emphasis on actual repair and reparations. And in fact, if you're following the news, just January 13th, 17,000 of the 22,000 people who participated in the Truth and Reconciliation process in South Africa are just now getting some form of reparations, to the tune of about $1,800 in US dollars. And that's how many years after the process? This process ended in, as you may or may not know, in the early 2000s in 2003. So if you think about it, reparations tends to be the last thing on the list, actual reparations. And we're happy that this commission is making sure that that doesn't happen, that we actually have actual reparations in a very concrete way. So that speaks to the heart of the issue. I have here in this slide, because now I want to pivot. I've told you a little bit about some of the work writ large, some of the comparatives in terms of what's going on in South Africa, what we're doing here in Binghamton in terms of the Freedom Trail. But now I want to go a little bit more narrower to my work, which speaks to these larger issues, my own personal research work. My upcoming book is called The Age of Repair, and I'm going to cover all of this territory and more than likely reference some of the good work that's been done here and by other commissions like the California Commission on Reparations. My thought about history and this historical work is that we first have to recover the stories. Reparations begins with the stories. Part of, I think, the problem that we have is that we have not only do we need to recover the stories, but we have to keep telling the stories. It's now that I hear more people talking about the civil rights movement. Now I teach a course on the civil rights movement here at Binghamton University, and others do, connect with parts of that history, but it's kind of like for history buffs. No, this is our story. And one of the issues that I find in doing the writing is that we have to encourage more writing, more research, and in fact, I hope that the commission will spend quite a bit give quite a bit of assistance to those who would do this work. I think I don't need to tell you that if we don't keep telling these stories and help to co-create some new stories, I don't need to tell you that what will happen is that alternative facts will become the slavery is drudgery, but nonetheless, if you have a connection to the land, if you have a connection to people, your family, that's a way to alleviate the drudgery of slavery and the period of enslavement, and that they were pulled away from. And I talk about that, and I trace over 15% of people of African descent who were sold on that auction block in Savannah in 1859. I trace them to the present day. 5 sites across the country where that's marked in any way. So you do the math. We have not
I skip past because I don't care about her books.
Stories enough to be able to tell our children and grandchildren what took place, and for all of us to understand.
I feel like that's what she was really there for.
How deeply impactful that was. In this particular article, I do speak about the slave market of New York, by the way, that was adjacent to Wall Street, and talk about that contribution again of people of African descent to the building up of New York. And I might also mention the Native American contribution at the same time, because they were obviously also impacted. So where do we go from here, and what do we learn from these writings? I'm going to go through this really quickly. From all of this writing, we should learn, I think, that there was an incredible contribution from people of African descent to the wealth of America, starting from the 1619 period, where there's that consistent presence, and for 250 years of uncompensated labor. And this just cannot be underscored, that 250 years of uncompensated labor translates to what would, I don't know what the figure would be. I've sometimes have students who try to figure it out. My economics students try to figure out what that figure would be, but we can see it. We see it in the bridges that were built, the roads that were built. We see it in the houses. We see it in the receipts, if you will, what we're standing on, what we're looking at. And so that's one of the major things that you get from the writings, not just mine, but the writings of others who have contributed to the history of slavery and the history of enslavement. Abraham Lincoln's and reparations. I like to make a note here that when we're told, giving free money, which is what the perception of reparations is, that we're going to just be giving free money, if you will, to people of African descent. I like to remind people of the law that Abraham Lincoln signed into law May 20th, 1862, where settlers got 160 acres of public land, the Homestead Act. It's like these little known facts. It's not little, it's little known, but it's not little to get 160 acres of public land just because you're a white settler. Just because, not small. 1862, President Lincoln compensating. That's the only place is DC, ironically, where slave owners were compensated for their enslaved population, compensated financially, given free money. Okay? I mean, these are not little facts. This is fundamental. And DC was the only place where it was done, but I think it's significant that it was DC. Whereas in the South, when 40 acres, many of you know about 40 acres and a mule, whereas in this case, that was not sustained. The 40 acres and a mule, that project was aborted. It was started, but it was aborted, which is why we're seeking reparations now. I won't go much further into some of this because it's already been mentioned, but there have always been Black-led movements for reparations. And Callie House, again,
that's a good one she built during that beef patty battle.
Was someone who was rallying the government from 1890s. This is not new, and she was doing it from an apolitical perspective, just based herself on being an ex-slave. There have been gains, and I want to say
I feel you said she was pissing us off too.
There have been continued inequalities, and we want to look at even the civil rights gains of the 1950s and 60s as gains that we need to maintain and sustain, because they're under threat right now. So even those gains, the Civil Rights Act, the Voting Rights Act, right now need to be sustained. But the inequality continues, and I have some statistics there. One, because you think to yourself, this is my specialty and I'm still learning.
That's it for heifer. But look at her recommendations for reparations. Freedom schools and education funds, home ownership funds and land, community centers, vision centers, business development funds, public history memorialization. So as she was going through this, my head was on fire. As you can see right off the jump, she was just talking reckless. But she mentioned South Africa a lot.
A lot.
I want to play this clip of Dr. Khalid Muhammad. Hold on.
Oh, yes.
Mandela came here with a song and a dance, buck dancing for some change from the white man, with a tin cup for the white man. Put on the Yankee cap at Yankee Stadium, talking about he's an honorary Yankee, when all the people of the world, the Viet Cong, the Japanese, everybody is saying, Yankee, go home. Said he loved the Kennedy family and he was hurt over the tragedies of the Kennedy family. The hell with the Kennedy family. They asked him, Mr. Mandela, what do you think of the problems of the suffering of black people, Africans here in America? He said, I did not come here to get involved in the internal affairs of America. What the hell do you mean, Nelson Mandela? We fought for you for 27 years to get your raggedy, rusty, dusty behind out of prison and apply pressure on the no-good South African devil government. And you come to America and say that you didn't come to get involved in the internal affairs of America. You can't speak up for us. When he threw a fist in the air, you say, this America. She's bold every time. They tell her, don't do this, Winnie. Don't you go there where they have the hunger strike with the unions and the mines and those who are striking to free all of the political prisoners. Next thing you know, Winnie is right there with her combat boots on and her military fatigues on. Not Nelson, Winnie.
That gave me chills.
And then, like I said, sis, having to sit through this was very, very difficult. I don't know. I guess my ancestors was feeling my heat rise from my head because I had no idea that they would call me first to give testimony. So I guess my ancestors wanted a little bit relief of that steam that was coming from my head. But like Khalid Muhammad said, what was Nelson Mandela for us? See, I was a part of that divestment movement. All of the black student unions at that time, we were a part of that divestment movement. You had television shows, a part of that divestment movement. A Different World, The Cosby Show. But where these mother effing South Africans at for us when it comes to our lineage-based reparations?
Oh, they're busy saying that they're not black.
Come on. Come on.
When they come over here and accept their BET award.
Come on. Come on.
Now she's trying to walk it back.
I'm surprised old girl ain't show up this time. I guess it was too far for her.
Who? Which one?
The mixed race Nigerian. We're always talking about prisons this and prisons that. And we need to focus on what's now and not what happened back then.
See, they think that by having these meetings all the way up by the tip of Canada in the winter is going to keep us away. Nope. Like I said before, no rain, no sleet, no snow. It's going to keep us from fighting for what our birthright. But it sure is keeping them other people out. They ain't coming, including the commissioners. Because Dr. Jenkins was the only one there. Now, part of that is because they were afraid of Kamilah Moore.
Mm-hmm. Now,
they ain't wanted no parts of her.
Before we move on to Kamilah Moore, what was y'all conversation with not Kamilah Moore, this professor from Binghamton University. What did she say to y'all?
Well, you don't want to play my testimony first? Because that's what it was about. That's
Okay,
why she came to talk to me. Yeah, that's why she came to talk to me.
I could do that. Hold on. I could do that. Let's skip right past that. And then we'll go back to Kamilah Moore. Okay? So let's go to Sister Brooks' testimony, and then we'll come right back. Give me a second. That was mine's. That lady pisses me off too every time she comes. Brother Ern, shout out to Brother Ern.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, hold on. Here we go.
Can she stand here? Oh, the mic's in the middle, in the back.
I appreciate that Kamilah Moore clearly outlined the 5 forms of reparations. What we will not accept is legacy organizations taking large sums of money for programs we never see or advocacy that never produces results. We will not accept symbolic gestures like the Bruce's Beach situation, only for that land to be used in ways that do not benefit the injured group. And I am also grateful that Kamilah Moore, Esquire, also addressed the Walter Plecker unconstitutional race-based classifications, which cause lasting harm and confusion. I am glad the commission got a chance to hear a lawyer explain constitutional law, something we, the foundational Black American freedmen, have been stressing over and over again, all while being chastised by the lawyers that serve as commissioners. Dr. Bailey repeatedly used the phrase people of African descent, but that language lacks the specificity required for law. One knife sticks both approach does not work when preparing a legal claim. Precision matters. As the FBA proverb says, that dog won't hunt. Only Black Americans were enslaved in this country on this soil under laws of the United States. Therefore, damages must go to the harmed group and no one else. And we've given this country enough time, no more delay to what is owed. When Kamilah Moore said that the harmed community must be satisfied, that means exactly that. No one, whether a Jamaican working for the working for the Harriet Tubman Foundation or anyone else of any other lineage, has the authority to tell foundational Black American freedmen when we shall feel satisfied with our justice claim. When we refused to accept the failed model of South Africa's truth and reconciliation process. It did not deliver justice, and we will not allow those same mistakes to be repeated here. During the business meeting, Dr. Jenkins mentioned the need for speakers. I'd like to remind the commission that the U.S. Freedmen Project was the only group to present a workshop specifically focused on reparations at the Black, Puerto Rican, Hispanic, and Asian Caucus Weekend, which, by the way, is an interesting form of delineation for the Puerto Ricans from the rest of the Hispanics. I've also mentioned previously that Andrew Barnes from Numbers USA should also be brought in to do a presentation on how immigration has hurt foundational Black Americans and pushed us to the back of the hiring line. I would like to take this time to thank the foundational Black American family for their continued support and making sure that we were live in person here today. Thank you.
Brooke, can you tell me the name again, please?
My name is Brooke.
No. The name that you recommended.
Oh, Andrew Barnes of Numbers USA.
Which USA? I'm sorry.
Numbers
USA.
Numbers USA. And then our President Devine of the U.S. Freedmen Project. He's the one who did the
presentation.
Yes, the presentation at the caucus.
And also spoke at our Utica meeting.
Yes.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you. And actually, you're next, Divine Prince.
Y'all spitting that fire.
You know it, bro. You already know.
Good afternoon, Commission. My name is Divine Prince. I'm the current president of the U.S. Freedmen Project. I want to personally thank Chairwoman Kamilah Moore for coming out and sharing her time. What you don't know is that this is not the first time she has addressed this commission or this New York State legislative body on how to get reparations correct. The U.S. Freedmen Project worked closely with the California Taskforce, including Chairwoman Kamilah Moore, Dr. Shirley Weber, Dr. Jovan Scott Lewis, and we addressed all of the New York State legislators on how to get reparations not only right, but constitutionally correct. And so this current iteration of the bill, unfortunately, is unconstitutional because the legislative body ignored all that professional testimony, something that I hope they don't do today with her testifying again. See, I want you guys to understand the definition of an African. An African is a native or inhabitant of the continent of Africa. So anyone, regardless of race, hue, or ethnic group, that is an inhabitant of the continent of Africa can be considered someone of African descent. For example, our new mayor in New York City, Zoran Mamdani, he came out and identified as an African-American, even though he is an East Indian from Uganda. This is the problem with racial language, something that Kamilah Moore went over and talked about. So the rest of my testimony, I just want to give honor to one of the greatest Black Americans I believe that has ever walked this.
Oh man, so what's going on? What's going on? What's going on? They trying to, it's too hot. It's too
I told you that fire burning. The fire is burning the wire.
They coming through the galaxy. They coming through the galaxy, Brother Divine. Hold on. Here we go, family.
I mean, as far as the average Negro today, he knows nothing about Africa. And I think he's got to face the fact that he is an American. His culture is basically American. And one becomes a justice when he realizes what he is. That's what this commission is supposed to be about. Black American citizens that were formerly enslaved that are now coming to get our just due. Racial justice is a formidable cause, but it's not reparations. We must separate the two. A recommendation I made at the Utica hearing. Separate the two so that we don't have to be subject to a constitutional challenge based on race. Dr. King also talked about that a society that has done something special against a Negro for hundreds of years must now do something special for the Negro. That's what reparations is. That's the harmed group. And with my last 30 seconds, I want to talk about a conversation that Dr. King and Harry Belafonte had. Because we all know the quote that people talk about when they say that Dr. King said he integrated his people into a burning house. But most people don't know about that second half of the conversation when he was talking to Harry Belafonte. And he said he saw a sadness on Dr. King's face that he hadn't seen in almost forever. And he said, so what do we do if we integrated our people into a burning house? And he said, we become the firefighters. And the freedmen are the firefighters. Thank you for your time.
Brother Divine, kudos, brother. First, before we go and let Brother Divine get into his spiel, I want to personally thank all of the grassroots who have contributed via Cash App to Sister Brooke.
Yes.
To make sure that the family gets to all of these hearings safely, that they are fed.
Mm-hmm.
And representing us very, very well. Shout out to Sister Pat. I know she has contributed.
Yes.
EW on the check-in. I appreciate all of y'all for making that happen. Because as Brother Divine mentioned, these people have coffers.
Mm-hmm.
$5.5 million. You know, and one of the commission members, Miss Reed, I personally suggested Doggy Diamonds TV. But she continues to advertise through the goddamn Amsterdam News, which is antiquated. Doggy Diamonds 2 is Black owned, Black led, Black finance.
Even Laurie Daniels Favors had to call her out for that.
Yeah. Yeah. Antiquated. Go ahead, Brother Divine.
Oh man, yeah, I just want to echo your sentiments, and apologize to the Foundation Black American Grassroots. in our rush to get there, and because there was not a lot of people. See, we're used to, because we brought it up. Now all of a sudden, they act like they never said that, right? Like now they're getting amnesia. They forgot that they said whoever speaks or whoever has spoken already gets pushed to the back of the line. All of a sudden, that rule is over, right? That they voted on it, passed it.
Dr. Jenkins.
You know what I'm saying?
It's illegal.
Right. All of a sudden, now it's the same way it's always been. First come, first serve. And so because there were not many people in attendance, we got a chance to, they called on us so quickly. After the ancestors allowed Sister Keisha to be first. And so I was unable to kind of formulate all the thoughts that I wanted to, like I usually get a chance to do. So outside of the quotes that I was able to write down from Dr. King, everything else was just off the top of my dome thoughts. So I didn't get a chance to put
I don't know
the
how you're doing that.
on the mind. And so I want to make sure I apologize and also echo your sentiments to thank them for all their tireless support, whether that be financial or inspirational or with encouragement. All of it counts. All of it fuels us. All of it helps us get the job done. And I'm just honored that you guys entrust us not only to go to these hearings to speak on behalf of ourselves from our personal experiences and from the levels of expertise that we've been able to garner, but you trust us enough to speak for you as well in place of you, since you're not able to be there. And so that's an honor that I do not take lightly. And I want to make sure that I thank you all for everything that you have given us and in the ways in which you continue to support us. And I will say this, because we see a lot of people with the same old tropes about, oh, well, we got to do all this and do all that before we can even talk about reparations, because, Black people don't even support other Black people. And like, we got to get that in line first. And I just want to say this, there is not a doer that I have been around that echoes or propagates that message. It is the talkers that continually talk about how people don't support each other. Because if you are a doer out here for our people, specifically doing lineage-based work, then you already know there's no way you could do the work unless our people are supporting you, because nobody else is. And I'll land in.
Let me just, like I said, everything works in divine order. I ain't never been called first. But as he said, we write this off the cuff because we got to hear what's being said. Just so it makes sense. So when all of you watch the playback, you get a clear understanding of, we always have a frame to work with based on the topic of these hearings. But we have to adjust based on what we hear. Hold on.
We are going to come back. We are anxious to hear from the public. And just as a reminder, we do have some people participating virtually. And in fairness to all, we're going to do one in the space, one virtually, as the list dictates. He just left. It's open. It's open. So he left. He was first. So the first public participant is Keisha Forrester. She's online, if she's still holding on. Keisha Forrester.
Good morning or good afternoon to the New York State Reparations Commission. Today, on behalf of Foundational Black American Freedmen, descendants of people enslaved in this country, including free Black Americans who were kidnapped and sold into slavery under
Ms. Forrester, can you pause for 1 second so that we can begin the timer?
Sure.
Thank you. Ready? Thank you, Ms. Forrester. You can resume. You can start over if you like.
Thank you. Good afternoon to all of you on the commission. I speak today on behalf of Foundational Black American Freedmen, the descendants of people enslaved in this country, including free Black Americans who were kidnapped and sold into slavery under New York and colonial law. New York law role in slavery, was direct and profitable. State law authorized human bondage, enforced slave codes, and protected property claims in human beings. Wealth was extracted through generations of forced unpaid labor and absorbed into public and private institutions. When slavery ended, there was no restitution, no wages, no land, and no inheritance. That failure created what constitutional law recognizes as the continuing badges and incidents of slavery. The unresolved economic consequences of slavery itself under Supreme Court precedent, government has both the authority and the obligation to eliminate those conditions. Reparations are not symbolic. They are not social programs. Reparations are the settlement of a specific documented debt owed to a specific people. Accordingly, foundational Black American freedmen demand two remedies. First, substantial direct cash payments to eligible descendants of U.S. chattel slavery. The harm was economic and intergenerational. Only unrestricted capital repair can address stolen labor and stolen inheritance. Second, a full exemption from both New York State and federal income taxation for foundational Black American freedmen. Our ancestors' forced labor functioned as a lifetime tax imposed without consent. A permanent tax exemption is a lawful and proportionate response to that unpaid debt. New York has the authority to lead here. The record is clear. The obligation is overdue. Justice delayed is already justice denied. And through the last administration, with the influx of illegal immigrants, and all of these sanctuary cities, including New York, opened up its coffers to those illegal migrants who came here. So the excuse that, you don't know how to pay for it, you don't have the money for it, no longer suffices. And with that, I conclude, and I thank you for that time. So even though...
Where's the applause for yourself?
Oh, sorry.
And drop that bomb.
Our responses or testimony, as you can see, are in sync. Everything we said was in sync.
That's right.
I didn't know what they were writing. They didn't know what I was writing, but it's in sync because we are in divine order. And people can do that spiel all they want to, but I thought it was fitting that we include the law because you had there also a presenter from the California Taskforce.
That's right.
Kamilah Moore, Esquire, Chair of California Reparations Taskforce. Here we go.
For the transatlantic slave trade, chattel slavery, and their legacies. She earned a Juris Doctorate degree from Columbia Law School in New York City, a Master's of Law degree in International Criminal Law, and from the University of Amsterdam, and a bachelor's degree from the University of California, Los Angeles at UCLA, that's UCLA. Kamilah Moore was appointed to the Reparations Task Force by the Speaker of the Assembly, Anthony Rendon. May I welcome Kamilah V. Moore.
Good afternoon, everybody. So happy to be here. My name is Kamilah Moore, and I served as the chairperson of the first in the nation California Reparations Task Force. So without further ado, I'll get straight into my presentation, where essentially I'm just giving some insights, some high-level takeaways. Since the California Reparations Task Force, we finished our work in June of 2023. So in June of 2026, it'll be 3 years since the commission finished our work. And now it's up to the California State Legislature to turn our over 200 policy recommendations that was within our over 1,000 page report. It's up to the California State Legislature now to turn those recommendations into actual law. And then of course, it's up to the governor of our state to sign those laws. So yeah, also without further ado, I also want to just ground this conversation. I want to give honor to God, who is the head of my life, but also I want to give honor to the ancestors, right? Actual enslaved Africans in the United States, for which if they did not labor, I would not be here today. Also, thank you so much, Dr. Bailey, for uplifting the name of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. It is his birthday weekend this weekend, and I'll also be mentioning him in my presentation as well. So essentially, my presentation is called Truth and Transformation, which we know is the general theme of this hearing. But in terms of my takeaway from this theme, I thought, how could I contribute to this conversation? Being the chair of the California Reparations Taskforce with the work already being completed. And so I saw it as, how can I help the New York Reparations Taskforce kind of wrap their heads around, going from truth to transformation, from historical record to public obligation, to New York State actually, taking whatever you guys come up with in terms of the documented harms and the recommendations, and how do we get to the point where we actually get New York State to implement those recommendations. Truth and transformation are not just slogans in the reparations context. They actually describe a moral and legal consequence. Under international law, reparations are governed by 5 recognized forms. So when most Americans, when they think about reparations, they just think about compensation or cash payments. But actually under international law, there's an actual legal definition. And within that definition encompasses 5 forms of reparations. So compensation is one of the forms of reparations under international law, but it's not limited to compensation. Compensation is very important, and we can't talk about reparations without talking about compensation. But there are other forms of reparations under international law as well, which Dr. Bailey also mentioned, like satisfaction. Satisfaction is more symbolic forms of reparations, like memorials, like a formal apology for slavery and systemic discrimination from the state of New York, for instance. Rehabilitation is another form of reparations under international law. Dr. Bailey in her presentation mentioned some suggested recommendations. For instance, community centers. That was actually one of the recommendations from the California Reparations Taskforce, like community centers. That is a form of reparations under the bucket of, you could say, rehabilitation, right? How do we rehabilitate the mind, the body, based on, the traumas that Black Americans have faced, in this country. And then also restitution is another form of reparations under international law. And in the state of California, we've actually made a lot of progress in terms of restitution. A lot of people may or may not have heard about, for instance, the Bruce Beach, where in the 1900s, there was a African-American couple who owned like a beach resort in Manhattan Beach, but the Manhattan Beach City Council at the time in the 1900s took the land away from them under racially motivated eminent domain, and that land laid vacant for decades until a few years ago when Los Angeles County worked to find the descendants of that African-American couple, and they were able to provide some type of monetary compensation for, to the descendants. And the only reason why they didn't get the land back is because Manhattan Beach City Council still rezoned the land. So instead of it being, business oriented where they could, get money from LA County and put a hotel back on that land, Manhattan Beach refused to rezone the land. So it could only be used for, a park or residential. And, the descendants didn't really want to do that. So, but that's an example of restitution. How do you take account for stolen land, stolen property, things like that? And then the last but not least, the last form of reparations under international law is guarantees of non-repetition. And it's actually one of the hardest forms of reparations to achieve because, it's tackling the fundamental question of how do you get the state or the harming party to stop harming, the injured group, right? So, that could take into, account for, restructuring of different public policies, and things like that. And so also I wanted to mention that a core principle under international law is that the injured group must lead. The injured group must dictate what repair looks like to them, right? So it's not enough so governments exist to facilitate repair, right? The New York Reparations Commission exists to facilitate the repair, not to define, what repair looks like for the injured group, and not to define or dilute its meaning. That principle.
Pause real quick. Now, Sister Brooke, remember that? Not this business meeting, but the one before, where they were trying to come up with a definition.
Yes.
For what reparations is or should be and how it should be defined.
Mm-hmm.
After how many months into it, they just, listen.
But then, and then refuse to be there when someone who's already done the work, has it already laid out, written down, everything step by step for what it should be, what you could do, all the things. None of them showed up except for Dr. Jenkins, because they know that Kamilah Moore got it right.
Mm-hmm.
Kamilah Moore and the California task force got it right. And that's why they didn't want to be there, because they have no intentions of getting it right. Their intentions is to muck it up.
Yep.
Is to make sure that their organizations, because we already heard President Devine tell us that they had they was trying to get their cake off the top.
Yep.
Not even on the back end. They was trying to get their cake off this bill right here, the bill that created the task force. They was trying to get their money off that bill. And if President Devine and the U.S. Freedmen Project wasn't there, they would have. And so that is the kind of defense that President Devine and the U.S. Freedmen Project have had to constantly give these people, all while at the same time playing offense by creating their own constitutionally sound bill. So this is why they didn't want to show up, because we've never had a meeting where none of them showed up. But none of them, not Dr. Daniels, not Lori Daniels Favors,
Hawkins,
not Austin, not Hawkins, not what's the older lady who's a part of the education part? She wasn't there. Nobody was there. Mm-hmm. Nobody wanted to face Kamilah Moore. That is what kind of opponent, and that speaks to the strength and intelligence and knowledge of Kamilah Moore, that not one of them wanted to face her, including, just like I said in my speech, the two lawyers on the commission.
Will shape California's work, and it should shape New York's work as well. So just a little bit about California's work and just how we were structured. California began this process through a formal study and development phase mandated by law. The Reparations Taskforce was charged with investigating the history of slavery and systemic discrimination, documenting how those harms were created and sustained through public policy. We heard directly from affected communities, the descendants of enslaved African Americans, and we engaged with economists and legal scholars to translate that history into reparations proposals. In doing so, the task force documented how Black Californians were systemically excluded from the New Deal programs, for example, the GI Bill, the Federal Housing Administration mortgage programs, and other state and federal policies, producing a wealth gap that persists today. That was not an abstract finding. It was an evidentiary record of state-created harm. In reparations, truth is not something to be endlessly argued about. It is something that must be documented so that the state is legally required to respond. I mentioned that I was going to talk about Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. very briefly, in some of his speeches before he was assassinated, he talked about one of the examples of these exclusionary public policies. He talked about the Federal Homestead Act, right? Where, and in his words, so to speak, he mentioned, right, while the United States government was refusing, right, to undergird African Americans with an economic floor, at the same time, the United States government was allowing thousands and thousands of Europeans, poor Europeans, to come to the United States and undergirding them with an economic floor, providing them thousands and thousands and thousands of free land, of free acres, right? While at the same time excluding African Americans from that policy. Yeah, there were some African Americans who were able to benefit from the Homestead Act, but by and large, African Americans were excluded from the Homestead Act. And that's just one example, right, of exclusionary public policies on the state and federal level. And what are the present day impacts of that exclusionary public policy, right?
Pause. If you can, Sister Brooke, Brother Divine, talk about your conversations with Attorney Moore.
Man, wow. First of all, I was so excited to meet her in person because I'm a fan. You know what I mean? I'm a fan of the work that she's done. I was excited to ask her specific questions about the legality of some of the things that they were doing to us. Like pushing that, like saying that we had to speak last. She let us know that we were in fact correct about that they cannot do that. Another thing that she let us know is that they cannot tell us that we can't speak at the business meeting, at the business hearings or the business meetings, because what they're trying to they separated the business hearings from the business meetings from the hearings to keep us from speaking at the business meetings, and they cannot do that. That is not legal. It is illegal to do so. So that was another thing that we were able to ask her questions on, and that's what I can remember right now. President Divine, I'm gonna let you jump in.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so for those that heard the testimony now, and it's never been any big secret, so it's not like I'm breaking ground here. But for those that don't know, none of this is happening in a vacuum.
Mm-hmm.
And so all those that are doing work on behalf of our people across the country, I don't want to say all, because there could be someone doing something in the pocket that we do not know about. But trust and understand and believe that not only did the U.S. Freedom Project obviously reach out, which is documented, reach out to our potential allies of the Caribbean and continental African advocacy communities for support. We reached out to any and everybody doing lineage-based work across the country. The difference is that the diaspora did not answer back while our people did. And so we have been in close contact with damn near all of the organizations doing work across the country. We collaborate, we have conversations, we talk about best practices. Especially when we're talking about California, when you are first, you will take all the shots and take all the arrows. But more importantly, you will traverse the landscape that others have not before you. And so the U.S. Freedmen Project and a lot of the work that we do, especially legislatively, we owe a great deal to California for not only paving the way, but reaching back and saying, hey, brother, what can we do? How can we help? What do you want to know? And so I just want you guys to understand that, again, it's the talkers that continue to propagate that message that no one's working together. All the doers do. There's no other way for us to get the work done outside of uniting and working alongside each other. Now, are there bumps along the way? 100%. Do we all agree on everything? Absolutely not. Has that forced any of us to undermine or try to sabotage the work that any other group is doing? Absolutely not. And so that is one of, in my opinions, one of the most successful hallmarks of this foundational Black American Renaissance, is that a lot of the issues of the past that caused that to happen are not happening. And it is my belief that it's not happening because for the first time in a long time, if not ever, we are centering our lineage and not any specific ideology or identity. Us, instead of our lineage and our ethnic group. And so, this is not the first time I have worked with Kamilah Moore Esquire. She was a part of a group or contingency of foundational Black American lobbyists, if you will, that went to DC to do work on behalf of the lineage. We spoke with the Congress people. We walked the halls in DC, and I will share with you guys that the same message that we got when I go to Albany and when the team and the volunteers go to Albany, and there will be advocacy days this year, so be on the lookout for that. We will be taking the family to Albany, so all of us can do the same thing that we have learned how to do. But in DC, we were told by many of the Congress people as well as their staff that this is the first time that anyone has walked these halls and lobbied for foundational Black Americans solely, exclusively, and specifically. That's not to negotiate or to impress you, but it is to impress upon you that the reason why we have not gotten the specific policies that our families deserve is that our representation in the form of politicians and in the form of these legacy organizations have been deliberately sabotaging us and not speaking up for us. So you need to know that. And you can move and govern yourself accordingly. And so Sister Kamilah Moore and others across the nationwide coalition that we built, we got together, went to DC and did those meetings, walked those halls, advocated for our people unapologetically, whether who liked it or not, regardless of who liked it or not. And we will continue to do so on behalf of the family until we reach our goal, until we get what is owed to us. And then we're going to continue to do it some more because there's always going to be more to get because we're going to always be here. So, it was a great time to me have a conversation with her and kind of reminisce and catch up on some of the work we did because, again, she's always on the West Coast. We on the East Coast doing this work. She was able to just share some more of her best practices, talk about some of the things that she kind of went through that can help us. And one of the things that I will say, and this is because this is something that we were saying from the beginning, based on how it is constructed. I said this during all the meetings and in the meeting where I first met Sister Brooke for the first time. Based on how this legislation is written and how they were carrying it out, that this task force was going to be a glorified high school research project. And they are not disappointing me in my expectation. And so she was just shocked and dismayed at the way in which it's being ran and what they're doing and how many experts they have not brought in to testify. And what committee is doing this? And where's the committee to do that? And why they continue telling you that they can't vote on lineage when, as the chair, that's the first order of business that she made sure to address, regardless of what the legislation said, because that legislation empowered them to do just that, which is what I've been telling this commission from the beginning. Don't piss on me and tell me it's raining. I know what you can do and what you can't do. So you can't hide behind the legislation from me because we wrote legislation. You know how it works. So you can't pull that same BS on us that you can pull on other people. And so the lies will not be tolerated. And that's what we were talking about and kind of how to continue that advocacy, because that is what, for those that, anyone that is confused, and for anybody that needs a refresher course. And again, this is not to impress you, but to impress upon you the work we've been doing and how close we've been with this commission. They were going to choose someone from the U.S. Freedmen Project to be on this commission. Just so everybody knows. It's not a secret. Maybe you just didn't know. But our calculus in our organization was to say, no, we need to be on the outside of this commission because it is doomed to fail. We did not need our name on this for it to be rubber stamped to say that we support this or that we were involved in what's going to turn out to be a shit show, for lack of a term, if they do not change their ways and embark on any of the recommendations that we have as the grassroots told them to do. So, you know, our role in this is to keep the family updated, to keep the family involved, speak truth to power on behalf of our organization, what we want to see done, but also on behalf of those in the family that can't come, and to let them know that when the curtain goes up on the shit show and when the curtain goes down on the shit show, the usual excuses will not fly. We are here to let you know that that during this entire process, we told you how to get it right. So when it is not right, it was not by mistake, and it was by design. And all of you will be held accountable in one way or another. Because ours just following orders will not suffice here.
Man, I can't wait for part 2 next week.
I'm gonna add one
Hold
more.
on, sis. I can't wait for part 2 next week. We're gonna continue with attorney Kamilah Moore's testimony or presentation. And we're gonna expose some people in the New York legislature as they try to put us all in the trick bag. We're gonna discuss all of that. Again, I hope my sister BX could join us. But go ahead, Sister Brooke.
No, then I'll hold what I was going to say till next week. Did you still want to go into Dr. Bailey?
Cook.
Okay. So you guys heard my testimony. And so after the hearing was over, I made a beeline for Kamilah Moore, because when they had the break, I don't know where she went, but I thought she left. So I got nervous, you know what I mean? So I got nervous that she had to maybe fly back out because, like I said, the weather was bad. So as I made a beeline for Kamilah Moore because I wanted to meet her before she left. As I'm sitting there talking to Kamilah Moore, Dr. Bailey makes a beeline for me. Right? And thank God, you know, President Divine is there, because he has a lot more decorum than I do, especially when people piss me off like she pissed me off. And Sister Keisha wasn't there to pull me back either. So, you know, she comes up to me and she says, "Oh, I just wanted to say, you know, that I didn't mean to I wasn't trying to insert myself in your reparations claims." And I looked at her and I said, "But you did, though." And, you know, for those of y'all that know me, well, I mean, on the bridge, y'all know me pretty much in real life. I don't hide stuff on my face. I'm not good at that at all. You're going to know exactly so how I felt. So I'm looking at her like, "But you did, though." And then she says, oh, you know, well, what I meant is, you know, that, you know, with all of I meant that I wasn't trying to insert myself. what I meant was that, we have all of this anti-Black. I said, let me stop you right there. As soon as she said anti-Black, I said, let me stop you right there. I said, I wouldn't have said what I said if you wouldn't have said what you said. Just like that, same faith, what you said. Then she goes, oh, well, I wasn't trying to call you anti-Black. I was saying that we have to fight, the white supremacists, with their anti-Blackness. And then that's when President Devine steps in to save the day, because I was like, cuss words was coming out, and I think he felt them. I think he felt them rising up in my soul. So he cuts me off and he starts, telling her like, oh, well, the problem is that, we have people of Jamaican descent that are coming to these hearings and trying to, change what reparations is about. She says, oh, well, I understand, because I have the same thing going on as well. You guys don't know, but I work for an organization in Jamaica that fights for reparations. And so we're like, oh, with CARICOM? Yeah, well, she's like, we're not a part of CARICOM, but we work within CARICOM, specifically for Jamaica. And that's when I cut in. I said, and you see the difference? I said, we're not in Jamaica telling you what you should get and how you should get it. She goes, but we would welcome you if you did. I was like, but it ain't none of my business. So therefore, I'm not there. And part of what you guys didn't hear was she said, because we kind of skipped over some of the things that she said because she's so annoying, right? She was saying that how she was trying to bring Jamaican proverbs.
Yes. Yes.
And she was like, the same knife that cut sheep, cut goat. And that's why I said, that doesn't work when it comes to the law. But it doesn't surprise me that she doesn't understand that Jamaican proverbs like that mean a hill of beans when it comes to the law, because she's not from here. Now, maybe that type of shit works in Jamaica, but it don't work here. That dog don't hunt. So when she's saying, oh, I was like, so you're sitting there telling us, I was like, see, I said, but that's none of my business. I said, I'm worried about us here. I'm not over there worrying about what y'all got going on. And that's about the time when, like that little giggle she does. Let me tell you something. The Brooklyn in me wanted to stop that giggle. And the Brooklyn in me only knows one way to do it. So I walked away. She did that giggle one too many times in my face. I walked away and I went to go talk to Dr. Jenkins and calm down. And President Devine continued with his conversation with her stupid ass. So I'm going to let him talk about what he talked about next with her. Because like I said, I was ready to backhand that bitch.
Man, I tell you, boy, I guess, things work in a particular way, because if I could have jumped through the screen, I would have snuffed her. That's how angry I was. I was so angry. And, like I said, I'm writing my stuff and I'm texting Brooke. Did you hear what this said? Did you hear what this said? But again, as you said, when you and I spoke, that they would want us to come and fight for them.
That part, I forgot that part. Go ahead.
Because y'all ain't about that life. You ain't about that life. I'm sorry. Don't tell me about once upon a time. What you doing now? Like Brooke said, you in our business. We ain't in yours. You in our business.
And of course, they want us to come to Jamaica and fight for them because they always want to use us and lean on us. Lean on our intelligence, lean on our knowledge of history, lean on our passion, lean on our articulation, lean on our ability to fight the power through everything. Lean on our fearlessness to fight their battles while you over here trying to make our battle unconstitutional. Don't let me, yo.
Hold that heat. Hold that heat. Hold that heat for part 2. Hold, because I know you got to get up out of here soon. Hold that heat for part 2. Because if you think what you saw tonight was rough, hold on, family. Hold on. But I want y'all to remember something very important that Brother Devon said a little earlier. He said they tried to offer a seat to the Freedmen's Project on the commission. That's what they always do. This is what the shills always do. Nothing changes in their playbook. Nothing changes. But I hope that Ron Daniels get to see this. Lori Daniels favors. I hope you see it. I hope you see it, Miss Jones. I hope you see it.
Esquire.
See it, sucker soup. I hope you see it, Miss Reed. I hope you see it. Because as someone put in the chat earlier, not only are we coming for our check, we coming for them seats in government, local government. We coming for them seats as well. It's up for everybody. But
shout out Miss Jackson in Chicago. We coming for them seats.
Yeah. We coming for them. It's up. It's up and it's stuck. We getting ready to get up out of here. Tell somebody to tell somebody. We need your help with these call to action. Sister Brooke, let them know so we can get the people up out of here.
I need y'all to send these emails. The reason why they are having these hearings at the tip of Canada is because what we are doing, our strategy, both online, offline, in person, in their face, is working. Okay? This is why they are trying to throw everything at us but the kitchen sink. Okay? This is why what we are doing is working. We cannot stop now. Now is the time to hit the gas. Okay, put your foot on the gas. We moving 100 miles an hour. Now it's time to run 150 miles an hour. Okay, send these emails every single day. So I have been noticing that the family is doing a great job because y'all know it's 5 emails, right? The family has been doing an amazing job at sending email number 1 and number 3. Right, the first email is for the unconstitutional bill, and for as we're playing defense on the unconstitutional bill, we playing offense with our constitutionally sound bill. So the first email is regarding that. So y'all are very
hold on, sis. Hold on, don't go too fast. Because as you go through 1 through 5, I'm gonna click on them so I can show them how easy it is.
Yes.
To do. How about that?
Okay,
This
because
will
I'm
be my
usually
third
trying to
round
go
for today.
fast, so I'm not taking too long, with my whole spiel. But I can slow it down. I can. Okay, so yes, the first email is regarding the unconstitutional bill and the constitutionally sound bill. So the unconstitutional bill, right, is unconstitutional because it is race-based. And so because it is race-based, that deems it unconstitutional. As we've seen with DEI and affirmative action, that have already been smacked down by Ed Blum, right? And so now they're trying to do the same thing with our reparations because Ed Blum is waiting to smack this bill down. So while we're doing that, we're playing offense with the constitutionally sound bill. So that email that Sister Keisha just sent, and right there in them 2 seconds, that is for the to demand that they support, that our legislators in New York support the constitutionally sound bill. Now let's move on to to email number 2. Email number 2, 3, and 4 are regarding the same things. They just go to different people. So the email number 2 is going to go to the Black Legislative Task Force. See everybody written there? And so and that is to demand that they support and become sponsors and co-sponsors for our bill for delineation and disaggregation. That is for us to have our own box. That way we can know who reparations will go to, how many people there are, and where we are, and stop all this foolishness that there's none of us left in New York, right? And so the third email is going to go to the New York legislators who have already voted to do this for the AAPI and the MENA group, okay? The AAPI, the Asians. So the Asians want to be separated. The Chinese want to be separated from the Japanese. Japanese want to be separated from the Polynesians, right? And then the Muslim group are the first group in the history of the United States that wanted to delineate from being white as due to 9/11, right? So you see how fast this is happening, okay? So that is the third email, right? So we want them, the same people who already did this for them, they can do it for us, right? So that email is to demand that they support our bill for delineation and disaggregation. So that's the one that goes. So number 1 and number 3 are the ones that y'all are sending the most, right? But I just need y'all to step up the gas for number 2 and number 4 and number 5 that I'm about to talk about right now. Number 4 goes to Kathy Hochul. Come on now. I know she sucks. I know she's terrible. I know she looked like Viola Swamp. She don't never blend her makeup right, but send her an email anyway, okay? Because she needs to know that we know that President Devine of the U.S. Freedmen Project already met with her legal team, and they told her the bill was unconstitutional, and she signed on to do it anyway for that pomp and circumstance of a commission that we got going on right now. So send her an email to let her know that she ain't shit, and we know it. Okay, so send her the email number 3 as well. That was email number 4. Number 4 and number 5 is my personal initiative, right? It is to send an email to the commission, the Reparations Commission. So you guys heard me speak at the end of my speech when I recommended, and Dr. Jenkins seems like she was listening. So this one may not have to go on for too much longer, number 5, because I think she's about to bring him in, but send it anyway, just to reinforce what I said. Okay. That we want Andrew Barnes from Numbers USA to come in and do a presentation on how immigration has hurt foundational Black Americans. Now, when we say immigration, we ain't just talking about melanated immigrants. We talk about immigration as a whole. We talk about the Irish, the Italians, the Germans, everybody, the Polish, everybody, how they've all been brought in to push us to the back of the hiring line. And not just to the back of the hiring line, because once we are pushed to the back of the hiring line, some of us are pushed to the life of crime. And through the life of crime, they are then pushed into the prison system, which is then how they can enslave us again legally. And I'm going to push, this is a shameless plug for my good friend and my good brother Mark Batson's documentary Alabama Solution on HBO. Please watch that documentary. It is amazing work that he put his soul into. And so that is what the number 5 email is about. Please, so send all those emails. And then at the end, me and Sister Keisha, we just got our little thing going on. Unregister for the Democratic Party. We have shown you receipt after receipt after receipt after receipt how the Democratic Party is the party of the kidnapping club, the party of slavery. And then we showed you a couple weeks ago how the first Democratic ticket had on the top, no Negro equality. Okay. We went down to the New York Historical Society and took pictures of it, snuck pictures of it. We ain't supposed to be doing that. Snuck pictures of it just to bring it back and to show you what the Democratic Party was founded on. What is the foundation of the Democratic Party? No Negro equality. So, you know what I'm saying? To remove yourself from the Democratic Party, make their numbers 0, or at least just all the people at CNN, and it'll show how they have no support from the grassroots or anybody else for that matter, right? And then here at the top, you have the U.S. Freedmen Project. You have the link to their to their website so you can read a little bit about them. You can join and get newsletters on the things that we're doing. Then you can also donate to the organization itself. So we have two different, donate things going on. Donate to the organization itself through their PayPal, and that's that button there. And then the Cash App is just for us for travel money to get to these hearings back and forth. Because as we said, we can look, when we tried to go to Binghamton, we looked at train tickets, we looked at bus tickets. The train doesn't go to Binghamton. And that was the only thing, because I knew the weather. I wasn't trusting no bus. I don't trust these buses because these people be hiring anybody drive these buses, and I ain't with it. So y'all know I'm weird like that. So I wasn't with it. I trust President Devine driving more than I trust these bus drivers. So we had to get the premium car. We got to get the car with the 4-wheel drive because I knew it was going to snow, or you don't even know if it's going to snow. So I knew it was going to snow. So we can't get the little tiny, Ford, what was the little thing, the Ford Fiesta. We can't rent the Ford Fiesta. We got to rent the 4-wheel drive SUVs. So I want to thank everybody for that I don't put on the website. I didn't put that there in the link, but you could donate to my Cash App. I'll put it is $Brooke, $BREUCK. You could donate to the Cash App so that you could donate to our transportation fund to get there. And also, well, I guess we'll talk about that next time, because I was gonna say, and for us to eat when we get there and things like that, because we definitely supported a Black American business when we went up there. I'm trying to work on something, but my phone wasn't working. I'm trying to work on pictures and everything to show you, to promote for this amazing Black American business that we went to with this amazing food. Me, President Devine, and Kamilah Moore with this lunch that was just life altering to be seated.
A power lunch. It was a power lunch.
It was a power lunch. Yes, it was a power lunch over fried fish, honey. It was delicious. And fried fish and potato salad that didn't have peas and carrots in it. It was delicious. Okay. And so so that's everything. And you showing that Democratic ticket. What does it say at the top of that ticket? It says no Negro equality. So
So my big sis K fighter took me, Brooke, and President Devine of the U.S. Freedmen Project to the New York Historical Society Museum. And there we saw the very first Democratic ticket. And you can see at the very top of the ticket, it says no Negro equality. So that means at the inception of the Democratic Party, they never, ever intended for foundational Black Americans to have equality.
There you have it. There you have it. Brother Black, I think he disappeared. There you go. 2 minutes, brother. Your final thoughts and commentary.
Another great presentation by the FBA. Brooklyn people who are very serious about getting this done. I love your compromise. We all come from the school of the UAM and those teachings. I'm sure some of us too have degrees and so on, but this is another form of school, and it has a strong curriculum, strong student body, and strong educators. So continue with it. Get that grip. And I'm gonna come visit y'all, and y'all gonna shower me with 10,000 each, and that's all that was. It was real serious a second ago. No, but real talk. I'm loving what y'all doing, and I'm 100% with it, and keep going, and we all gonna be all right. We just got to keep going through these cycles that we seeing all the time. Like I said at the beginning of the show, distractions. Keep going with the mission that y'all continuing with. I ain't got much else to say. You just check me out at melaninstitute.blogspot.com. That's where I go in. I'm putting stuff about FBA and delineation and some of the things talked about here as well sometimes. My last article was with George Wallace. He's a comedian, very funny. Y'all need to check that out. And next week we'll be on the bridge doing it again, and we'll have a great time while we do it. So peace and love to the panel, peace and love to those watching, and peace and love to those coming in the future. Blacksmith, Basil Medina on Facebook. See y'all next week on the bridge. One love to all.
Sister Marcia, your final thoughts and commentary.
I'd like to thank the family for your good works, right? It takes a lot of effort to do good works. And the question will always be truth and reconciliation or truth and transformation. And I'm all about the transformation. Reconciliation means that I am accepting certain things from the man that me and my soul is not ready to accept. I want to transform this entire universe. So I'm nanu. But with all of that said, I want my people from the Caribbeans, I'm an outsider, but don't look to CARICOM. CARICOM is equivalent to the Black Caucus in America. And if you know, you know. So don't look to CARICOM to solve any solutions, because it's not. It's going to appease the man, whoever that man is. If the man is Israel, if the man is a Nanu, I don't know who that man is that all these Black people are appeasing to, but it's not for us. I would also like to say that, this sister who went to South Africa and is telling us about South Africa's problems, she needs to go away. I feel your sentiments about that. And she is saying nothing in terms of looking at, even if she was looking at U.S. history, she would have never brought up South Africa in the conversation because it doesn't align. You are focusing on one project, and the project is not to reconcile. That's what South Africa is trying to do with Nelson Mandela and all of those things, and it has not worked. So anyway, the cause of reparation is going to take Black people to activate the fact that Black people deserve Blackness. And I commend Brother Divine, Sister Brooke, for all the works that you do and pushing that that knowledge vigorously, right? It's not stopping. And I think if more townships, more places throughout the U.S. took that same fever and vigor, this conversation would be much different. And so California did their things. I have a few people in California that we talked about this thing too. And now New York is taking place. Where's Boston? Where's Jersey? Where's Virginia? Because all of you have lots of people who are in from that soil that, are taking the sideline. And I would love more people to speak up. Hey, there's a storm coming up in New York. Please, if you're a homeowner, buy your salt, because the city is out here trying to tax you if you don't shovel. I don't know where the young children are that used to shovel 20 years ago, but I hate having to go outside and shovel. Where is my husband so he can come and shovel? I know he's.
You gotta get an electric shovel. Get yourself an electric shovel.
Testing my husband right now, but all of this to say, may time flourish for us all. Let us continue our good works wherever we stand. Let's push forward wherever we stand. Don't block other people that's doing good work. You are supposed to, I know a brother that's doing this work, funnel people where they belong. Everybody doesn't have to stay in one camp. Everyone can move around and do good works. So may time flourish, and if time don't want to flourish for you, fight with that bitch. Make it.
Hey, Sister Marcia.
Yes, Brother Black.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt. Did I interrupt?
That's all right, Brother Black. You always interrupt.
I just wanted to say that those young people that used to shovel snow, they playing video games of shoveling snow now. They don't come outside.
Yeah, their parents are going to pay. The parents are going to suffer. The parents will suffer in 10, 15 years, leaving their children just playing video games and not doing manual labor. Manual labor is good labor. It makes you creative. It makes you become a man and a woman. Now you got your mama outside shoveling the snow while you in the house playing video games. Your mama is trash.
Nah. You make them get out there and do it. Shout out to my grandson Farrell.
Exactly.
8 years old.
Exactly.
I got this, Nana.
Listen, I go through this with my own people in my own house, and I be wanting to throw their in the bucket of water in the toilet bowl before they have to get up. And I'm like, I don't have to. I should not have to fight with you to take care of your house. This is your house. If I'm gone, it's gonna be yours. I want to put last thing, real quick. I want to tie a shovel to Jaquan's wheelchair and make him go outside and do this.
Wow. You hear that, Jay? I got your back, boy.
Got your back. BCW on you. Keep it up.
Peace to the family. Peace to the new likes and the subscribers. Please listen to my brother Divine, President Divine. Listen to my sister Brooke, because they are forwarding information. Hey, we all have a stake in this. Just our stake is much different. And you just have to understand where your stake lies. Peace, family.
Well, I thank y'all for joining us another week on the Brooklyn Bridge. Tell somebody to tell somebody to tell somebody. This is where it goes down. And so tonight, we close out with Dr. King. Good night, y'all. Stay safe in this storm. As Sister Marcia says, more than half the country will be affected. Snow, ice, sub-zero weather. Stay safe. We'll see you next week on the Brooklyn Bridge. We out, y'all. Good night.
At the same time that America refused to give the Negro any land, through an act of Congress, our government was giving away millions of acres of land. But not only did they give the land, they built land-grant colleges with government money to teach them how to farm. Not only that, they provided county agents to further their expertise in farming. Not only that, they provided low interest rates in order that they could mechanize their farms. Not only that, today many of these people are receiving millions of dollars in federal subsidies not to farm, and they are the very people telling the black man that he ought to lift himself by his own bootstraps. So now when we come to Washington in this campaign, we are coming to get our check.
On the Brooklyn Bridge tonight, voices strong, knowledge tight, thorough black talk in the air, changing minds, changing flair. From Brother Tad to Sister K, warriors got things to say. Sister Marcy brings the heat, Brother Blacksmith keeps the beat. Revolutionary waves, they fly underneath the open sky. Every word's a call to fight. Tune in, feel the ancestral light. Thursday nights the world will see Black Power media on the spree. Facebook, YouTube all aligned, breaking free from every bind. Social talk and politics, every voice breaks through the matrix. Commentary raw and true, for the many, not the few. Revolutionary waves, they fly underneath the open sky. Every word's a call to fight. Tune in, feel the ancestral light. Social talk and politics, every voice breaks through the matrix. Commentary raw and true. For the many, not the few. Revolutionary way.